The public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. That's 800-797-0711.
When you've got something to say, be heard loud and clear.
If they'll just do what they were voted in to do.
This party needs to get a backbone. They need to get some spine.
Join the conversation. St. Louis's place to talk.
The Democrats and the Republicans can give us all the lip service they want, but what they need to do is take action today.
101.9 and 94.1.
You have to take a stand sometimes.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion.
Refreshing when you spend time in the country talking to voters, and that's why it is a privilege to meet them and to let them inspire me to do my job in the best way that I can.
Only on the Fox News Channel. Now, a look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
It's Monday, August 7th. I'm Chris DeMeo. This is the Fox News Rundown. President Biden spends part of this week out west as the administration marks a year since he signed legislation key to his Bidenomics agenda. Fox's Jared Halpern has more.
The president travels to Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah this week as part of an administration-wide effort to barnstorm the country ahead of the one-year anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act.
The Southwest, where he'll be headed, is experiencing, as you all know, an unprecedented historical drought.
White House senior advisor John Podesta says during the visit, President Biden will stress the need to invest in climate resiliency. The administration also plans events tied to the CHIPS and Science Act, bipartisan legislation that allocates nearly $300 billion to expand semiconductor manufacturing in the U.S. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The World Series champs visit the White House today.
President Biden will welcome the Houston Astros to the White House in what might be a bittersweet occasion. That's because President Biden is a Philadelphia Phillies fan, the team the Astros beat to become World Series champions in 6 games back in November of last year. This will be the second visit to the White House in 5 years for the Astros after the team visited in 2018 for winning the World Series in 2017. That was the team's first World Series. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
I'm Chris DeMeo, and that's your Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalksstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Will the 4th Trump indictment drop on Monday? Jim Talent to discuss. Are the walls closing in on the Biden's bribery scheme with Susie Moore?
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Well, it is definitely summer here in the heartland. Time to call Hanson's Tree Service for all of your commercial and residential tree care. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. Let them come out to your homestead or your business today. Take care of everything regarding the exterior of your home. Grinding and land clearing, all residential and commercial tree services. They've got fantastic organic mulch in bulk. Plant health care as well. Give them a call, 636-379-1830. 24/7. They're always available at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
Uh-oh, you know what that means. It's back to school time. Hi, this is Todd Showalter from The Right Mind Show. And while I didn't love school, I do love coffee. So for the widest selection of your favorite coffees delivered straight to your door, you've got to try DiscountCoffee.com. All the leading brands at the lowest prices guaranteed, and they're shipped right to your door for less. That's DiscountCoffee.com. And also, during their back-to-school sale, save 15% off when you mention Right Mind. That's DiscountCoffee.com.
Hey, Columbo here, reminding you that cybersecurity has never been more important, so you need to ask yourself, is your business prepared for a possible ransomware attack? And if you have any doubt, you need to call the team at ThrottleNet today. ThrottleNet provides world-class managed IT services and IT support to many local organizations, including my family's own small business. They're St. Louis's highest rated and most reviewed outsourced IT company, and there's many different ways ThrottleNet can help with your business's operation and digital protection. Learn more now at throttlenet.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The county executive chief of staff made his own Pornhub video. A year later, the female involved is suing him and 3 other people civilly, saying that he did not have permission to distribute that tape. Is this person liable?
Man, Chris, you guys have far more salacious political stories.
You didn't know we were so exciting out here in Hillbilly Country, did you, Zach?
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you thought booking your timeshare was difficult before, you know it's almost impossible now. For more than a decade, Lone Star Transfer has helped thousands of owners legally and permanently get out of their never-ending timeshare fees. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. For free, no-obligation consultation, please call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Monday, let's talk about young Americans smoking pot. That stat up 250% over the past few years. And the pot itself is 10 times stronger than what the hippies were smoking in the 1960s. Now, my son is 19 years old, and here's what I told him. If you get into the world of narcotics, pot included, then your life is going to take a drastic turn for the worse, because nothing good leads from this. And your generation is going to be the most drug-addled in the history of the United States, because of the drive to legalize drugs and no punishment for selling drugs. So your generation is going to have more access to more drugs, including strong marijuana, than Americans have ever had before. And many of your generation are going to get involved with drugs. Those people are going to find it very hard to compete in our society. And if you, my son, avoid drugs, alcohol, and other destructive pursuits, you are going to prosper because the competition is going to be far less. Responsible people in your generation are going to be fewer, and you will stand out, which means a satisfactory life is easier. Now this. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, listen up. CarShield is a low-cost monthly vehicle protection plan now available to you. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Please call 800-925-7584 for a free quote. Drivers who activate today will also receive free roadside assistance and towing at no additional cost. That is 800-925-7584 right now. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Can't rule out an isolated spot shower through the morning, but otherwise I expect a dry day with a lot of cloud cover overhead. Winds picking up as well. They're going to be coming from the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Temperatures, you'll like these, sitting near 80 degrees. And then tomorrow we're also seeing temperatures in the mid-80s. Watch for Wednesday for our next chance at showers and some strong thunderstorms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
they drafted a vague agreement so Hunter could walk away saying he understood that the case was closed.
The Department of Justice was acting like a co-conspirator.
It was a political exercise.
The famous WhatsApp message. The AUSA did not allow them to get the location data.
What happens next?
An average American would be serving jail time. He wasn't charged with one felony.
Happens right here.
And just because your last name's Biden, you shouldn't be treated differently.
This is News Talk STL. For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Let's get the day started right. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
The Second Amendment says one thing, but St. Louis City Hall says another. Yeah, that's what happened over this past week. The mayor signs into law a bill that she knows will not reduce violent crime. But hey, if they can try to chip into your right to self-defense, why not give it a whirl, right? Hey, Mike Ferguson, hope you had a wonderful weekend. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of your morning. On Friday, we talked to our friend Aaron Dorr from the Missouri Firearms Coalition, also the American Firearms Association, about the new law in the city of St. Louis that says, well, if you are going to open carry, then we're going to make you jump through hoops. You better be registered for that because, of course, the violent criminals are going to do all of that and give up their guns. Yeah, it is as stupid as it actually sounds. Here's what Aaron had to say in assessing the law itself and what could be ahead for it. You may be a little bit surprised. The Missouri Republican legislature actually kind of allowed an opening for this to happen.
Shall not be infringed unless you're in the St. Louis city limits. That's the approach that the Board of Aldermen and now Mayor Tashara Jones has taken, signing into law a gun control bill that she says now makes it illegal, at least they say it's illegal, to open carry in a concealed, in a constitutional carry state. They want to make it illegal to open carry unless you have a concealed carry permit and you have your papers on you.
Because that makes sense.
Aaron Dorr with our friends at the American Firearms Association, also Missouri Firearms Coalition, joins us right now. And I sent Aaron, I sent you that text last night to the story. I said, yep, it happened. You want to talk about it? And within minutes, I've got Aaron saying, heck yeah, let's talk about this, man. Thanks for being on.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for the time.
Good morning.
Yeah, so the mayor signs this in. And the funny part is that her text messages were sunshine lawed by a local media outlet about a month ago or so. And even in those text messages, she was caught acknowledging that gun control laws don't reduce violent crime. But here we go anyway.
Yeah, you took my lead there, Mike. I appreciate that. That's what I was going to laugh about. I mean, the sarcasm in me just cannot be held back. I mean, thank goodness now with the crime problem in St. Louis has ended. With this leadership from the mayor's office, we now can sit back and know that all violent crime is over in St. Louis. And this is standard leftist posturing. It is virtue signaling the highest order. We all know this will not stop any violent criminal. If you are willing to commit armed robbery, murder, kidnapping, rape, other violent crimes, an extra 30 days in jail for and a $500 fine for breaking the mayor's city ordinance is not going to stop you at all. We all know that.
Morning, Aaron. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So what's next for our 2A supporting organizations? I guess we're on our way to court, huh?
Well, we're going to have to wait and see. The law is pretty clear right now, actually, here in Missouri, that the cities do have the right to restrict open carry. That is the one carve-out that they've got in our current preemption statute. 21, I think it's 21-750. So they do have the legal authority to do this. But I will tell you right now that in the last 24 hours, I have heard from a whole bunch of members of the legislature who were saying, you know what, we might have passed too loose of a preemption law back in the day. It's time to fix that come January. So we're going to see. There's a lot of things we can do to fix this in Jeff City.
Yeah, you think? I mean, that is the answer. Yeah, you dummy. We told you about that at the time.
Yeah, I think to be fair, most of the current class of legislators were not there, back when this was initially passed, and I think that the left is moving so quickly now to the left that we have to definitely respond to this with a different preemption statute come next session. So we'll see what happens there. But at the end of the day, this is not going to stop any criminals in St. Louis at all, as all gun control has never stopped criminals. As you mentioned, the mayor is texting her dad in group text saying to her own father how Chicago has horrible gun control laws and it has not stopped gun violence, was her quote to her dad. So everyone in the audience, in the mayor's office, and everywhere else knows this is going to do nothing to stop violent crime.
Okay, so even if there's a hole in the otherwise pretty good constitutional carry law in Missouri, it still violates the Second Amendment. Is there any chance something like this stands up and down the line of the courts?
We're going to have to wait and see. We have to have a victimized party first to consider litigation. But the law is, I said, pretty permissive when it comes to this. One thing I would mention, though, is that in the code it says that there has to be reasonable suspicion of criminal activity for a person to be detained or disarmed by law enforcement under this code section. So if someone is merely walking down the street and they have their open carried firearm on their hip, if they've done nothing wrong, they can't be stopped, let alone detained and arrested by law enforcement. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens, how the city of St. Louis interprets this their new power. The law is clear, though, and we're going to watch this very closely.
The way the law seemed to be sold was that it was directed at the criminality of young people walking around with long guns, basically making a nuisance of themselves in public. But aren't the existing laws on the books, besides this one, very well capable of leading to arrest in that situation? As far as I could tell, I saw a lot of brandishing, and brandishing is already illegal.
Oh, exactly. We heard this all session in Jeff City, was that we had to make these things crimes because right now there's no tools for law enforcement or for the PA's office to prosecute these crimes. It's, of course, absurd. Like, as you said, brandishing is already a crime. The problem was, at the time, Kim Gardner and her refusal to prosecute violent criminals. We have a new, of course, attorney now in the office. We'll see what happens there. But absolutely, they have the tools they need. They lack the willpower to want to use them.
And, of course, one of the other dangers of this is the cancerous nature of these gun control laws. Once one entity kind of becomes emboldened to thumb their nose at the Second Amendment and the people of Missouri, now one of the county council members in St. Louis County says, I've been talking to the person that wrote that bill. I think it's a good idea. I'm working on my own legislation for St. Louis County, where over 900,000 people live. And so we're probably going to see some version of this in the suburban county of us as well, one of the most populous, if not the most populous county in the state. So this sort of thing sort of has tentacles that grow and it creeps, and that's why we have to stop it. And I'll just say it right now in front of everybody, to the mayor or the county council or the county executive: you pass these laws and I think I'm in danger coming into work or going anywhere, I'm carrying whether you like it or not. I'm putting my holster on and I don't really give a crap what the law says.
Well, exactly. And as they overplay their hand, I can assure your audience, all this is doing is angering the pro-gun majorities in Jeff City, and they will be eyeballing this for a major overhaul come 2024's session, because they wrote this, again, in a different time, and they were being very permissive of these cities. But if they're going to go this far and just absolutely make criminals out of tons of non-criminal, law-abiding citizens, this will be addressed at some point down the road in Jeff City.
Okay, Aaron, real quick before we let you go, I know you got a couple of bigger victories over the past couple of weeks. What happened with the it wasn't the bump stock ban? It was what was the other one? The
pistol brace.
The pistol brace. That's what it was. Yeah. What happened with that?
Circuit Court came out just a couple of days ago and said that the injunction that had been requested that was denied by lower courts was, in fact, permissible. They granted the injunction. It only applies to the people who had bought the pistol brace from that one particular vendor. But the point here has been made that the idea of the pistol brace ban, which is not law, it was executive order from the Biden White House. The idea of that surviving a court battle is very, very small. That's why the court granted this preliminary injunction. Now it's going to go at some point to the Supreme Court for final adjudication, but we're very pleased with this. The bump stock ban has also been ruled to be unconstitutional. So every time Biden tries to raise his head off the ice cream cone to pass more gun control through executive actions, the courts are smack him back down and put him back in its place.
Aaron, what's it say that since the Supreme Court over the last couple of years has issued very clear rulings that respect the Second Amendment for what it actually says?
I think I might have lost you guys.
Oh, I say, can you hear me now? Oh, I think we've been disconnected.
Yeah, we got a problem with our connection here.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, American Firearms Association, and we've already tagged them on our social media. The point I was about to make is the Second Amendment rulings from the U.S. Supreme Court have been very, very clear.
Yeah.
The Second Amendment means what it says in the literal sense, in the literal terms, and the literal context of it. And what we've seen from the left around the country, including in St. Louis City, soon to be St. Louis County, most likely, is basically saying, screw you, we're flipping the bird to the Constitution, to your personal freedoms, and they're writing laws in direct violation of the Second Amendment and the Supreme Court's rulings on them.
Yeah, the rulings themselves have been very, very strong. Like the wording, it's all very clear. It's exactly what they intended with those rulings. There wasn't a lot of wiggle room. In the past, we've seen some wiggle room left in their opinions coming down. Sort of in defense of Second Amendment, but the recent opinions have been very clear. So yes, all we're seeing out of these Democrat legislatures and Democratic executive orders is a thumbing of their nose at the court. You know, I think it's a preamble to them wanting to pack it. Honestly,
oh, without a doubt.
The news roundup coming your way here in just a moment. A little bit later on today, the state of Missouri is apparently thinking about subsidizing Boeing. Yeah, they want to expand, bring more jobs here. That's great. But should any taxpayer money go to help that cause, or should they get a break on their taxes in order to provide that incentive for that? We're going to talk about that in the 7 o'clock hour. But like I said, just ahead here, we've got that news roundup coming your way in about 2 minutes and 13 seconds here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Listen anytime.
It happens
anywhere. Everywhere.
Every day continues to bring more news
with the News Talk STL app. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Do you live in West St. Louis County? Then you can get West News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. West News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe or pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. West News Magazine. Anybody who wants it gets it. Anybody who gets it wants it. Subscribe for free today. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe. News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
I heard the call to serve, so I answered. I earned a title and discovered my purpose. I found belonging, an unbreakable bond with my fellow Marines. We fought to overcome adversity together in defense of our nation and its people. I've lived a full life, rich with meaning. And even though I no longer wear the uniform, I am still a Marine. My service has come full circle. I will always look after those around me. I will always uplift and support my country and my community. Because that is the promise I made. That is what it means to be a Marine. Semper Fidelis, always faithful always marine.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Hi, it's Dan Bongino here, and I'm proud to be on News Talk STL every weekday from 11 to 2. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Well, guess what day it is now?
I have no idea.
It is payday for protesters who threw rocks and blocked the streets in St. Louis.
I should have noticed that on my calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What, hey, just money coming out from the city hall to reward people who broke the law. All right. Also, should young Americans have to earn their right to vote? Question being brought up by one of the presidential candidates. Also, media, and this is completely predictable still, media is already turning on the store clerks who smacked that thief around in California.
Yeah, I saw some of that over the weekend.
Yeah, that is completely predictable because the left is just a pro-criminal movement at this point. Those are all things that are happening in the news that we'll be talking about throughout the morning. It is 5:49. Good morning. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Stel Ponticus here. Okay, let me start with this. We'll go into more depth a little bit later on, but over 80 people are getting paid by a settlement with the city of St. Louis. Now, the checks range from $28,000. That's the smallest one, $28,000, to over $150,000 each. Money is going to those who were part of a protest mob that blocked streets in 2017. So here's what's going on. In 2017, that protest was over the acquittal of a police officer who shot Anthony Lamar Smith in 2011. And the accusation was the police officer planted the gun that he said Anthony Lamar Smith was reaching for, but that was never proven by Kimberly Gardner's office because she prosecuted the police officer and the court acquitted the guy, said, no, that's not what happened, or there wasn't enough proof to say that's what happened. So during those protests in 2017, 4 police officers were hurt, rocks and other things were thrown at then Mayor Lyda Cruzan's house, and windows were bashed in on at least one police car. And so the people who are getting the settlement were the people who kind of flooded the streets and blocked them, were ordered to get out of the streets and highways, and the police used what people call the kettling technique, where they made a big line and pushed them off the street and arrested a lot of people. And now the overall settlement is about $4.9 million for people who participated in violent protest, quote unquote protest.
Sad to say we're not the first city to be doing this.
Nope. So I suspect there's probably a lot of people. By the way, the city says they admit no wrongdoing, but they're still paying out the money as part of the settlement. So which means that they're worried about going to a civil trial and losing even more on this. So essentially what's happening right now is the word is going out. Clarion call is going out. Hey, want to get paid? Anytime you get mad, start breaking the law, flood the streets. When the police remove you and do their job, you're going to get paid for it. That's the message coming out of St. Louis City. So no wonder that people are moving out in droves and businesses are leaving. Okay, some national news here. Former President Trump and his lawyers are pushing to get the venue for his most recent indictment trial moved out of Washington, D.C., because we talked about, for instance, even Ted Cruz on his podcast was saying, yeah, this judge and this jury pool, not really pro-Trump. He's probably in for an uphill battle in this particular trial. They want to move it to a federal court in West Virginia. Now, the attorney general of that state, his name is Patrick Morrissey, says he thinks there is actually a chance that change of venue could happen, and he was on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo.
There is precedent, and I actually think this is potentially very likely, and here's why I say this. Yes, it's true that you normally focus on the district where the alleged crimes are occurring. However, there is a lot of precedent where courts have stepped in and they said, let's give the defendant a fair shake.
Okay, so federal prosecutors led by Jack Smith are saying that the former president knew that his claims of election fraud were false, but that he knowingly spread them to undermine the Biden administration and sow national fear and mistrust. Now, even if they say that Donald Trump knew what he was saying was not true, you're actually allowed to lie. under the First Amendment. You shouldn't, but you're allowed to. Trump is calling all the charges and all those claims fake.
So am I. As a matter of fact, I'm not a Jack Smith fan at all.
Yeah, it's he's seems to be really, really. I mean, you can agree or disagree with him, but it seems particularly incompetent in this case right here.
And he's totally a never Trumper. He doesn't want to have anything to do with Trump getting into any office anywhere and being on any ballot in any state, as far as he's concerned.
Yeah, and if you don't like Trump, okay, vote against him. I mean, that's your right, that's your thing. But to abuse the criminal process is where everybody, left, right, Republican, Democrat, everywhere in between, should be really taking note of this and saying, is this really the direction we want to go? So, to be determined what happens in this case.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see whether they get that change of venue or not. Because
I hope so.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because West Virginia is trending more red. It's always been kind of a conservative, blue-collar Democrat state, but it's really kind of, I wouldn't call it a red state now, but it's not a deep blue state anymore.
I would be okay with a change of venue to any place that was fairer than Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I think a lot of people agree
because
with
D.C. is over 90% Democratic, and anybody who's in office there is pretty much Democratic. So I don't know how he can get a fair trial in that city, and that judge is another never-Trumper. So toss her into it, too.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see what happens. Okay, let's see here. Other presidential race news here, because I'm going to start peppering in more statements from some of the other candidates because they're just getting ignored with all of this stuff here. Presidential candidate, former U.S. Ambassador, former Governor Nikki Haley on the stump in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and she's reminding people, hey, when it comes to foreign and domestic stuff, we got a problem with China.
They have bought 400,000 acres of U.S. soil, most recently near Grand Forks Air Force Base, where our most sensitive drone technology is. They are giving millions of dollars to our universities so that they can steal research and spread Chinese propaganda. They have sent enough fentanyl last year that would kill every single American.
Man, she's not wrong.
No.
Yeah.
There's definitely a problem.
Yeah, and that is, I think it is important that we get reminded of those things from time to time. I mean, other candidates are saying similar stuff. Actually, most of the candidates on the Republican side are saying things that are similar, but I thought she encapsulated that really well. The buying up land by the Chinese government is a bigger deal than I think the attention that it's getting. It's
most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And as Haley pointed out, in a close proximity to military bases is a pattern that we're seeing from the Chinese government. That's not conspiracy theory stuff. That's just happening.
Yep, it's been going on the past few years.
Hey, have you noticed gas prices have gone up lately?
You know, I noticed that.
Yeah. I filled
About
up
2 weeks ago, all of a sudden I noticed it.
Yeah, and it went up again.
Oh,
and I filled up with gas earlier this week. I'm like, wait a minute. It didn't used to cost that much. So gas prices have jumped, like you said, over the last 2 weeks in particular, according to Trilby Lundberg. She's probably the preeminent industry analyst of oil prices, and she publishes the Lundberg survey. And she says the increases are sparked by a number of factors, including high demand, but also a recent decision by Saudi Arabia to extend its oil production cut. They're intentionally limiting the amount of oil going into the market for at least another month.
The average pump price jumped a great deal in the past 2 weeks. The prices of 23 cents per gallon to $3.90 for a regular grade, coming mostly from higher crude oil prices.
All right, Jackson, Mississippi has the lowest price, $3.31 a gallon. Seattle, Washington, highest priced, $5.09 a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. Okay, Cardinals dropped their series against the Rockies 2-1. Sunday's loss was a 1-0 affair at the Busch Stadium. One interesting note over the weekend, though. Did you see this? Saturday, the Cardinals beat the Rockies at Busch Stadium. That was the 10,000th victory for the team since becoming the Cardinals in 1900.
Well, that's a landmark.
Interesting little milestone there, yeah.
Yeah.
The Redbirds have a travel day today. They start a series against the Rays in Tampa Bay tomorrow. Hey, what can your Ring camera catch? Boy, they found something interesting in U City. We'll tell you about it.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Democrats do what they do.
We choose truth over facts. News, analysis, and opinion.
Whoosh. We're very happy to see 12 months in a row of year-over-year inflation decelerating.
Surely we do not live in a two-tier judicial system. And just because your last name's Biden, you shouldn't be treated differently.
101.9 and 94.1.
It's a battle for free speech against the left. It's the topics that matter to me.
News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit InsureKidsNow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Saying there's just no way he could get a fair trial in D.C., former President Trump confirms his legal team will seek a change of venue for his trial on conspiracy and obstruction charges. It's a wise move, says noted constitutional scholar, former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz.
What you do is you seek a change of venue and a change of judge at the same time and try to move the case to West Virginia or Southern Virginia, somewhere purple, where you can get not only a decent venue where there's a chance. Remember, the District of Columbia is the most anti-Trump venue in all of America. And so you try to move the case and you try to move it, you try to get a judge from that area as well.
Dershowitz on the Salem News Channel. And considered a sign that an indictment of Mr. Trump could be imminent, security being tightened around the Fulton County Courthouse in Atlanta, with some of the normally busy streets closed as of this morning. Mr. Trump denies allegations that he tried to overturn the results of the 2020 election in Georgia. Mr. Trump's defense attorney, John Lauro, says the former president never asked Vice President Pence to overturn the 2020 election. Lauro says Mr. Trump asked Pence to pause the certification, allowing time to investigate possible election irregularities. 3 members of a firefighting crew have been killed while battling a wildfire in Riverside County, Southern California. They died in the mid-air collision of 2 firefighting helicopters yesterday. One of the aircraft did land safely, but the other one crashed. The NTSB among agencies investigating the deadly crash. Gas prices, which have been on the rise in recent weeks, may have leveled off. This morning's AAA national average for a gallon of regular, $3.82, and that's the same as yesterday. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 39 points. NASDAQ futures 58 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Miss Prager here. Sue and I mean it when we say dogs are part of our family, and there's nothing like their loyal companionship. So we provide them with Rough Greens, R-U-F-F, because we want them to feel healthy and be with us as long as possible. I know Charlie Kirk feels the same way.
The Pragers and I couldn't agree more. I rely on my trusted furry friend, Mr. Briggs, who's an absolute machine, and he relies on me to provide what's best for him. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black has packed Rough Greens, not a dog food, but a supplement full of vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes, and omega oils that Mr. Briggs absolutely needs and loves. Trying Rough Greens for your dog just makes sense.
Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here. I'm honored that the Pragers and Charlie trust their dog's health to Rough Green. I'm so confident that Rough Green can help your dog too that I'm offering you a free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover the shipping. Yes, dog food is dead food, but it doesn't have to be. Go to ruffgreens.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Can't rule out an isolated spot shower through the morning, but otherwise I expect a dry day with a lot of cloud cover overhead. Winds picking up as well. They're going to be coming from the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Temperatures, you'll like these, sitting near 80 degrees. And then tomorrow we're also seeing temperatures in the mid-80s. Watch for Wednesday for our next chance at showers and some strong thunderstorms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stiefel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. That's 800-432-8150.
The news and talk.
Beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life down here. None.
That matters to St. Louis.
We failed the American people. Everyone who voted for that bill essentially owned the Biden agenda, the Biden spending.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Wow, you're really pumped about this.
Gabe Pfeiffer. Get up, St. Louis.
The best answer to the toxicity of the left is the truth.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
Okay, so criminals are walking around pointing guns at people and their homes, apparently. So you know what we need, guys?
What's that?
We need more gun control laws for all of us.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because we're the problem.
We'll fix it that way.
Yeah, there you go.
I got to move my coffee so I can pound on the counter. All right, just ahead here, one Republican presidential candidate says we should either raise the age to vote or make some adult citizens earn their ability to vote. We're going to talk about that at 6:20. He's asking an interesting, strange but interesting question. So 6:20. I'm curious what people think about
Does
that.
this involve a pop quiz or anything?
No, it involves a test.
Oh,
like a full-on test.
Even worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is 6:06 right now. Got Gabe here, got Stell here. I'm Mike. All right, so over the weekend, and I think this was, Stell, you found the story. I think it was Channel 4, right? Was it Channel 4 or Channel 2?
I think it was 4.
4. I think it was Channel 4. Okay, so somebody looks at their video from their Ring doorbell camera, and there's 4 or 5 young teenagers, maybe young adults, but it looks like probably teenagers to me. And they're walking around with rifles, and they're pointing it at the window, pointing at the door, and pointing at everything there. No idea what they were demanding or what they were wanting or what the deal was at that particular home, but they were just walking around in broad daylight.
Sure.
You know, brandishing the guns and pointing it at the door and that sort of thing. And of course, they had the stuff over their faces, so you can't see exactly who they are.
Yes,
but
thanks for normalizing masks, by the way.
Right, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Masks are our friend, we're being told by MSNBC.
Yeah.
And criminals are like, yeah, Joel, they sure are.
Yeah, everybody should have them.
Oh, man, love wearing them in the banks. So this is in University City,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because clearly they can't do that in St. Louis City anymore because they signed a law. They're just, they're not allowed to.
They read the law, I'm sure,
Right.
and they were just like, "Yeah, we can't do it."
Oh,
So let's head over to you, City.
I was going to do that in St. Louis City, but nope, can't do that now. The mayor signed the law. So
Right.
anyway, so the walk around in U City and the reaction at the story at Channel 4, which was very pro gun control. Unfortunately, they talked to Shalonda Webb, one of the city council or county council members, rather, because she's the one, as we told you last week, who really likes that city law that's completely unconstitutional and worthless and should not be obeyed in any way, shape, or form. And so she sat down with Channel 4 to do an interview, and here's part of her reasoning for what's forthcoming as a proposal to do something like that in the county.
We can't fix it in one area and then don't have any rules in another area, because it's like anything else. It's going to spread. It doesn't care what city line or municipality you're in.
Yeah, so she recognizes criminals don't look at municipality lines there. Municipality.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, so basically it's like, well, the city has these rules here, but we don't. And so if we're going to have gun control, we just have to have it everywhere.
Right, that's right. See, the only way tyranny works is if you have tyranny everywhere.
Right. You can't give people an escape from it.
Right.
So this is the typical thinking of left-wing, politicians. And somebody may say, well, we have to do something, but something isn't about taking away our rights and taking away our freedoms, because we've gone through the debate decades now. Criminals don't obey laws. We know that. That's what makes them, by definition, criminals. But what's happening here is that criminals are giving politicians an excuse to take away the rights of all of us, which is what they want to do in the first place. So, Shalonda Webb has made it very clear, I like this law that the city has passed, which eventually is going to be thrown out by the courts.
Yes.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And she's had consultations with Cara Spencer, who wrote it, and she's working on something similar. Now, remember, there is a Democratic majority and an anti-Constitution, anti-Second Amendment county executive in the county, in Sam Page. So don't be surprised if something like this is signed into law, which means that I'll be breaking the law in 2 jurisdictions if I decide I need to carry, which I don't always carry. And honestly, I rarely carry. But if I feel like I need to, I don't give a crap about this law that they signed in. I just don't care.
Yeah, and we kind of predicted this before, didn't we? We said, okay, well, once the city does this, the county's definitely going to be looking at it.
Right,
the county's
right.
definitely going to be following, because they're close friends. They're best buds, so they like to do their tyranny together.
Well, and what else they have in common is that both are losing population. Both are losing businesses.
Right.
Both are bleeding out economic activity. One point, it's amazing. The city of St. Louis had a population of about 1 million people, literally. It's now under 300,000. And we know that there are other businesses looking to leave St. Louis, and there are people leaving in droves still. They just don't make it worth the investment in the city of St. Louis right now. I mean, they just haven't for a long, long, long time. And St. Louis County, because of Sam Page and the Democratic leadership, the proof is in the pudding right there. I mean, they've got a $40 million budget deficit. They are losing businesses. They now have under 1 million people in the county, whereas before there was over 1 million. The idea that there was going to be less than 1 million was just absurd. And people are leaving for Jefferson County, Franklin County, and particularly St. Charles County. They can't build apartments and houses fast enough in St. Charles County to accommodate all the people who are wanting to leave St. Louis County. And this is because of political leadership over the last several years. You can lay it right at the feet of Sam Page. You can lay it right at the feet of the Democratic majority. And they seem to not want to let up on their bad policies, bad ideology, bad philosophy, pro-criminal, anti-freedom approach to government.
Yeah, for some reason, they keep doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on policies that have necessarily been driving away their population. And for some reason, they think it's going to work this time.
Right.
This time, it's not going to drive people out. It's going to draw them in. That's what it is. Like this time it's going to work. It sounds kind of like the constant attempts at communism, doesn't it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, just this time.
Yeah, this time.
Just a little bit of socialism's fine.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know what? They failed because they didn't do it right.
Right.
So I'm here now, so I can do it right.
You drive on roads, then you like socialism.
Oh, I love those memes.
Oh, God.
Yes, because they're smart.
Okay, let me shift here. We have not talked at all about the U.S. women's soccer team.
Right.
Because I don't care.
Because we don't care. Yeah.
I just don't care. So they lost. I guess
badly.
The earliest exit they've ever had from the World Cup.
Ever.
And we don't care because we don't like them, and we don't like them, meaning the team, because they don't like us.
Yes.
And they don't like the national anthem.
Right.
Amongst other things.
Oh, many. They don't like the country.
Mhm.
They don't like people like us in this room right here or who are listening. So they had a 0-0 game, and then they went to the penalty kicks, which is one of the reasons soccer is not a great game. All of you who are fans of the boys in pink over here in St. Louis for your MLS team, it's not a beautiful game. 314-912-1019. If you got any thoughts on this? So they lost, and there were multiple penalty kicks, and the key kick that could have either kept the U.S. in the game or possibly even give them a victory was Megan Rapinoe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she missed by a lot. Did you see it?
I did.
Holy crap.
It was a bad kick.
I haven't kicked a soccer ball in years, and I wouldn't have missed that bad.
She just kind of sailed it over the right
man.
side of there. Yeah, it wasn't even close.
So she's already announced that she's retiring. Now, remember, they've won the last 2 World Cups, so
Yeah.
it's not like this team sucks.
Right.
In women's sports. I mean, they're lucky they didn't play another team of 15-year-old boys,
Yeah.
or they would have gotten whooped again.
Yes, because that happened.
Because that really happened, and they got beat bad in a warm-up game a while back by a team of 15-year-old boys.
Yes. Well, it's 15 and under. Mike.
15 and under, yes.
Yeah.
So,
there was a 13-year-old on the field.
So she was asked after the game, basically, what's her favorite memory, what's most special to her, being on the United States team, so representing the United States.
Right.
Is there a memory that stands out to you right now in this moment?
I mean, probably equal pay chance after the final. And I think, they were saying equal pay, but could have been saying a lot of things. I think this team has always fought for so much more, and that's been the most rewarding part for me. Of course, playing in World Cups and winning championships and doing all that, but, to know that we've used our really special talent to do something that's really changed the world forever. I think that means the most to me. And, the players in this locker room here, they're just getting started. And, to all the players that I played with, obviously, who know what it's like to be in the grind. That's the best part.
So winning championships, but okay, first of all, you idiot, you did not change the world.
No, my gosh. No, you did not.
No, I mean,
No.
you're going to get your show on MSNBC or the Young Turks or whatever, but you didn't change the world at all.
Well, you know what, Mike? I'm going to disagree. I think she did change the world. I think she put a gigantic exclamation point on how entitled and stupid a lot of our professional athletes that wear our colors are when they go abroad.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? How many people are absolutely celebrating the loss of the United States national team.
Yeah.
Which is why I haven't really talked about them at all, because I don't care about the men's team either.
It's soccer.
Yeah, I just don't care. Go USA or whatever. So I'm kind of conflicted in that. Am I supposed to cheer for them because they're Team USA? I'm like, but Team USA hates USA.
Right.
So I don't really care. And I really like the fact that Megan Rapinoe ends her career in such a humiliating fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
And it wasn't just that kick. There were some other lowlights throughout the game where she was not doing so hot there. Here's the thing. This is basically the people who have watched her denigrate the country and make nonsensical arguments like the one for equal pay, by the way, which has
So stupid.
descriptions there.
They're overpaid percentage-wise.
Percentage-wise,
Yeah.
in terms of the take for what their league brings in, they are overpaid. So having watched all of this, we're basically experiencing a bit of Schadenfreude as we watch her kind of go down in flames at the very end, and that's what people are celebrating. And it's interesting to watch, the lefties who are normally coming to her defense say, "Oh my gosh, all of these pro-America conservatives are celebrating the defeat of American soccer team," and we're like, no. We're celebrating the defeat of anti-American morons, and watching their humiliation with that wonderful sense of Schadenfreude.
Right,
Thank you, Germans, for that word.
Yeah.
And get some players in there who actually want to play for this nation
Absolutely.
and represent this nation,
Right.
and not stand there like dopes while the national anthem is being
They
played.
didn't stand there like dopes. They kneeled there like dopes.
There you go.
Well, I don't know. I saw some of them standing.
A few did, yeah. But yeah.
They are still dopes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
That's pretty embarrassing.
I mean,
It is.
the easiest thing to do would be, I've been given the privilege of representing my country. Even if she wanted to go on and I got a chance to speak on a big platform, whatever.
Yeah.
That's not it. Equal pay.
You get equal pay chance.
Okay, dude.
You did not get a chance for equal pay. Oh, yeah. Now she's advocating for men in the sport.
Yeah,
Now
so
that she's on her way out.
If the 13 to 15-year-old boys whoop their asses, imagine what actual
Grown
full-grown men would do. Yeah, exactly. All right. Just ahead here, one presidential candidate says young Americans, adults, should earn their right to vote.
Interesting conversation he's starting here.
Let's talk about that just ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Post-COVID travel is on a surge. Many of you are traveling for fun because you've been locked up for 2 years. Listen, whether you're traveling for fun to Italy, Greece, Spain, France, or somewhere else fun in the world, or USA, now is a great time to book before the crowds hit and save. Plus, with a strong U.S. dollar, you'll get more travel bang for your buck. Right now is a smart time to make your reservations and call low-cost airlines. With one phone call, you can let us do all the work for free. We'll shop hundreds of airlines, hotels, resorts, and give you a way to save huge money on your vacation plans. And if you call right now, we'll give you a free hotel room with a qualified travel purchase. So call right now.
Call right now. 800-648-9175. 800-648-9175. 800-648-9175. That's 800-648-9175.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point. There's been a lot of discussion in recent years about our faltering educational system and the dumbing down of the American populace. As an editor, I'm especially attuned to grammar and spelling errors. My eyes search for them all day long, and believe me, they abound, particularly in the digital sphere and on social media. It struck me today that many on the left, in particular elected officials and legacy media outfits, are misspelling a key word, a label that many of them claim and cling to. We're told over and over that anything and everything aligned with anyone right of center is a threat to democracy. Billionaires not taxed enough? A threat to democracy. Reducing the regulatory state? A threat to democracy. Enforcing our sovereign border? A threat to democracy. Seeking energy independence? A threat to democracy. Cooking on a gas stove? A threat to democracy. Defending the Bill of Rights? A threat to democracy. Championing free speech? A threat to democracy. Pushing for election integrity? A threat to democracy. Ron DeSantis? The biggest threat to democracy since Donald Trump. Actually, I'm pretty sure if you ask them, electing any Republican presents a threat to democracy. But the thing is, it isn't democracy with a CY those things threaten. It's Democrats with a TS.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter at SmoozyQ and keep listening to 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hello, morning people. Tony Colombo and Katie Fitzpatrick here.
Thanks for listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL. And don't forget to join us today at 2 for Colombo and Katie.
See you then.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
Okay, Vivek Ramaswamy says young Americans should earn the right to vote. I'm bringing up his statement, asking some questions. Let's talk about it here. Also, the latest jobs numbers are in. Is Bidenomics working? Is it?
Well, if their goal is a certain thing that I think it is, yes, it's working. It's working just fine.
10% to the big guy?
10% to the big guy.
We'll get the update and what it means to you at 6:35. All right, before we talk about the Vivek Ramaswamy proposal, Dale's got some thoughts on it because I mentioned people leaving the city in particular, but also the county as well. Hey, Dale, wanted to get you a chance to get your thoughts on the air. What do you think?
Well, it seems like a conundrum that they're driving money and taxpayers out of the city of St. Louis. But if you've got a stronghold or a fort or a castle or whatever you want to call it, you don't want your opposition anywhere inside the walls. And besides that, the Democrats run in St. Louis, the Democrats run in Washington pay them. That's where their bread is buttered. Mm-hmm. They don't care if everybody with any money leaves St. Louis because they're not paying them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's the attrition is not going to stop, Dale. I mean, it's. I would not be surprised if you've got St. Louis at some point in the next census is downwardly approaching 250,000 residents. So literally having lost, 70-75% of its population over the course of 3, 4, 5 generations.
Well, the Democrats in Washington, D.C. are going to bail them out. I mean, they give them all that COVID money just to do with what they want with. Yep. I mean, that's where their bread's buttered.
Oh, it is. Totally right. Hey, Dale, appreciate you being part of the program. Matter of fact, I visited the Foundry for the first time yesterday. I'd never been there. Mm-hmm. Not impressed. Was not wild about it. But I walked past one place that was like the arts office, and it had a big sticker, ARPA for the arts. Because they took a bunch of that COVID money and are funding a bunch of art stuff because that had a lot to do with COVID.
Yeah, COVID is about self-expression.
Yeah. Just put on your mask and stay 10 feet away from people. Don't have anybody over to your house and don't. Yeah.
How you self-actualize, Mike.
Yeah, not impressed with. I was not impressed with the Foundry at all.
Yeah,
period.
It sounds like Wokeville.
It was very much Wokeville.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah. Like that. Well, at least that's one less place I gotta spend money to say, hey, I checked out the new place.
Did the architecture seem sterile to you?
Not really.
Not really?
No. I thought the architecture was kind of cool because they had kind of that steampunk thing because it was a foundry. Mm-hmm. I mean, like the smelting, metals and everything. I actually thought that was kind of cool.
So a little industrial.
It was very industrial, a little steampunkish. That part was cool. The restaurants the food was good. You just couldn't go very far without getting smacked in the face with woke stuff, particularly the LGBT stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was literally built in because we went to the Foundry to see Oppenheimer because that just happened to be the time they were showing Oppenheimer at the time that worked for us yesterday. And they actually at the movie theater have the non-gender specific bathrooms. So my wife is like, I've got to go to the bathroom, but I'm not comfortable going in there.
Yeah.
And so, another part of the Foundry did have men's and women's bathrooms, but they literally built in the woke stuff into the design there. So, rainbow stuff all over the place. And so I'm like, whatever. You do your stuff. I know the taxpayers subsidize some of that, are paying some rent there, but I just was not impressed by the Foundry at all. So whatever.
And I have to say, as someone who lived in the city for decades, it's somewhat similar on Cherokee Street.
Oh, yeah.
Cherokee had a completely different feel to it up until about 10 years ago, and now it's totally changed.
Oh, sure. Yeah, without a doubt. Okay, let me get to this Vivek Ramaswamy thing. Here's what he is proposing. He says that we need to revive civic duty among young Americans, and I'm reading from one of his tweets. That's why I'm announcing my support for a constitutional amendment to raise the voting age from 18 to 25, but to still allow 18-year-olds to vote if they either pass the same civics test required of immigrants to become naturalized citizens or else perform 6 months of military or first responder service We must be ambitious. I understand not everyone will like this proposal and that it will take persuasion to convince many of its merits, but I'm ready to take that on. So you're an adult, as we define adult in this country, but you don't have a right to vote until you pass a test or you perform some kind of community or civic service until you're 24. So you're fully adult, recognized by every other thing in the country, but you don't get to vote unless you do these things.
Yeah, I think now, oddly enough, I agree that the voting age needs to be 25, but that's because I think age of majority in all respects needs to be raised to 25.
Okay, so you think age of majority should be raised altogether?
Yes, and you have to do it all together. Otherwise, you end up with this piecemeal stuff. It's kind of weird. Right.
Okay.
I mean, it ends up similar to the whole drinking age versus age of majority thing, which I think is dumb to begin with. And I think that the science is behind me on this because your brain isn't done cooking until you're 25. So that's why you were a moron when you were in your early 20s. But like me. But again, I know that's a hard sell.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to go for that. That's fine. It's a pie in the sky. It's the same thing as I have. It's like I don't think there should be income taxes, right? So to me, that's a pie in the sky dream.
Maybe
for
some states do it though.
Well,
states
do it. I'm talking federal.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah. So yeah. To me, it's a pie in the sky dream. Now, the test thing, though, that's a problem. I understand the sentiment because people who vote are dumb. There is a significant number of people who vote who don't know who the current vice president is, like by name. Any man on the street interview you see on YouTube will tell you how dumb the general public is. And those people's votes count just as much as yours, which is galling. But that's the way it is,
right?
So and the reason that is because setting up a test means, okay, the question doesn't become, who passes the test. The question becomes who writes the test.
Yeah.
And that's just another means by which, crazy bureaucrats can get their hands on our voting system and write certain people out.
All right, Stel, your thoughts?
I agree with Gabe.
Yeah, I think this is. I actually think this is a terrible idea, and it is. And I keep warning, and I make myself less popular. I understand with a lot of Republicans when I say this, but there is a big government movement within Republicanism and within the conservative movement. There is a big government aspect arriving. I like a lot of what Vivek Ramaswamy has to say. This is a terrible idea.
My goodness, most folks who are in the country are going to say, well, look at the southern border. We got millions of people coming across. They're not taking any test for anything.
In theory, they're not voting, though.
Well,
yeah,
in theory.
In theory for now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but
depending on what city they go to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they can vote
true.
in local municipal stuff. So here's where I'm coming from on this is that if we have decided that you're an adult at the age of 18, and you have the rights of a U.S. citizen at the age of majority of 18, then you have the rights of an adult citizen at the age of 18. You don't section off people to say, well, you have to earn the right to vote by doing this, but others don't have to do anything because it's inherent in your right of citizenship. And so that's why I think it's an absolutely terrible idea. And the idea that, well, if you want to participate in society, then you must serve the government is an absolutely horrific idea.
Yeah.
And I'm really disappointed to see this out of Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, don't get me wrong, he's saying so. I love the fact that he's put the other candidates on defense and they have to respond and say, well, yeah, I agree. We should get rid of the Department of Education, And so he said some bold things that's really helped shape. But this is just a terrible idea.
It sounds like what usually happens with the left, where they have a one level idea, and it sounds kind of good on some level. It's like, oh, I get it, I understand where you're coming from, but there wasn't the second and third level thinking that goes into the idea that questions it, that tests it to realize that, oh wait, here's the problems with that. No, that's untenable. We're gonna toss that out. That's what it feels like to me. It was the first level. It's like, you know what, people who are voting aren't educated enough on the things that they're voting for. We only want an educated population to vote. So we need to give them a test like the citizenship test. That's first level thinking. It kind of almost sounds good. It sounds like something you might want, but you go to that next level. Well, who writes the test? Oh, wait, the federal government. Oh, who do you have to serve in order to gain your vote?
Right.
3 years early. The federal government. It's like no. That's bad stuff.
Here's the other part of this is that as much as we see stupid votes by younger voting blocks in general. There are obviously some people who vote the right way and
Yeah.
and are very well engaged at 19, 20, 21. There are a few of them out there, probably not a whole lot. But the idea is that low information voters still have individual rights as citizens.
Yes.
You have the right to cast a stupid vote.
Yes.
You have a right to cast an uneducated vote.
It's the thing about freedom. You're allowed to be stupid with your
Yes.
freedom.
And so if we're going to defend individual liberty and individual rights, then we need to do it across the board, and that's not what this is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right, 314-912-1019. New jobs numbers just came out.
Okay.
Kind of tepid.
All right.
There were some increases in job additions, but not what everybody thought.
Okay.
What does it actually mean, and what's it tell us about the state of the economy? We're going to get some expert opinion from our friends at the Competitive Enterprise Institute about that right around 6:35 here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show. Columbo and Katie. Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch.
News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Can't rule out an isolated spot shower through the morning, but otherwise I expect a dry day with a lot of cloud cover overhead. Winds picking up as well. They're going to be coming from the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Temperatures, you'll like these, sitting near 80 degrees. And then tomorrow we're also seeing temperatures in the mid-80s. Watch for Wednesday for our next chance at showers and some strong thunderstorms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Hey, Tim Jones here for Rockwood Charcoal. If you love to grill as much as I do, I'm sure you prefer using charcoal over gas. Ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, we're not using anything else. Rockwood's made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and can be found in stores all across the country. It's the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal there is, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business right from my hometown of Eureka. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
Columbo and Katie.
Monday kicks off the first full week in August, and it looks like we're right around the corner from another indictment for Donald Trump. We'll get you the latest details, plus we'll talk to Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire at 2:45.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, so the job numbers are in, the latest ones. Little tepid, and the job market is changing again, but the big question is, what does all of that mean? That's the important question, because we like to banter around numbers to make our points, but let's talk about what it actually means. By the way, at 6:50, find out why police and media are now turning on the store clerks who stopped that brazen thief. We told you about them on Friday.
I saw this, man.
Yeah.
so mad about
It's
this.
predictable.
Yeah, it is.
We
That's true.
knew it was coming.
That's true.
So follow up and very predictable by law enforcement in California and media, frankly, around the country. All right, that's Gabe over there. That got Stell right in front of me. I'm Mike Ferguson. Okay, the latest job numbers came out. Good news is there were jobs added to the national economy in July.
Sure, some.
The bad news is wasn't quite what people were hoping for, wasn't quite what people were expecting. We were joined now by Sean Higgins, who is a research fellow at our friends at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. So, Sean, first of all, good to have you back on the program. 187,000 jobs in July. Okay, well, that's 187,000 jobs that weren't there, I guess, in June. So that's a good thing, but that's not really what people were hoping for, right?
It's definitely below expectations. There's hope for at least 200,000. So it's slipping below that, and the sense is that the economy is slowing down a bit, and we're beginning to see, some of the impacts from things like inflation and such.
Good morning, Sean. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So, again, I always need to ask this question because it feels as though the numbers are they're not as predictive as they used to be, or at the very least, they're not reflecting a reality we're familiar with in terms of the job market right now. I mean, there are so many open jobs. There's such weird things going on with the labor market. What can you give us basically an overview of what this all means to the economy? Because it seems like things are really, really bad, but maybe they're not so bad. I don't know. Help us understand.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct in that we were sort of ventured into uncharted territory where numbers don't quite reflect what they would have reflected or what we would have assumed from them about a decade or so ago. I mean, the official unemployment rate is 3.5%. That's historically low. I mean, that's almost, I think the actual lowest is 3.4, but it's just about as low as it's ever been. So you'd think that would be really good. But employers are still struggling to fill positions, and there's still a labor force participation rate that's weirdly stuck at about 62%. So there's still employers out there looking for people to hire. They can't seem to find them, and they're just not hiring as much. But they want to hire, but they can't find people. They're trying to automate and find other ways around that to the extent that they can. But they've sort of hit the limit on that as well. And this is really causing some unusual problems. We haven't seen a situation like this historically, and so a lot of economists are confused by it.
For context here, you mentioned the labor participation rate being in the 60s or so. What is it usually?
Usually it's in the low 70s or something like that.
So that's a big difference.
Right. Yeah, and why is it that people who would be eligible to work and able to work, why are they not working when employers are struggling to find people? That's the disconnect that doesn't make a lot of sense.
There's a couple of theories on that. A lot of it is a lot of people simply have decided they just don't want to work as much as they used to. There's people used to sort of be fearful of not having a job at all, but there's so many people out hiring today that people feel as though they can sort of go for a few months and still find something later on if they want to, take some time off if they want to. Or people just deciding that they're going to look for jobs where they don't work as hard as they used to. People aren't as concerned about increasing wealth. The other thing is there's a lot of stuff that's just not necessarily picked up by the traditional monitors of this stuff. A lot of off-the-books, side hustle type work, ride sharing and such, that doesn't necessarily or automatically show up in these reports. So there may be people who are working in some sense, as we understand it, but that isn't officially recorded. So the numbers aren't necessarily as telling as or as accurate as they might have been in the past.
Okay, one thing I want to add, I'm looking at your statement that was put out by CEI, and it said that wages actually went up slightly. I mean, nothing to write home about a lot, but employers maybe are slowing hiring, but wages are going up a little bit, but they still can't find people. I mean, this economy is so confusing to me, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Well, wages wages have been simply forced up by the simple fact that they're just struggling to fill positions. The part of the problem is they're struggling to fill positions with the particular skills that they need, and they can't find the people to do that. And then again, there's a lot of people who just for one reason or another have decided to drop out of the labor force. We're having the baby boom generation is rapidly retiring, and that's creating a sudden drain. There's a whole slew of skilled and type positions that are suddenly open now, where they had people with decades of experience, and they can't find people to replace them now. So yeah, there's just a sort of long, unprecedented situation. I mean, bear in mind, it used to be 5% unemployment was considered functional full employment, and now we're significantly below that, and employers are still scrambling to fill positions.
Sean, it sounds like, and I was worried about this about 20 years ago when I first kind of entered the my career field, and I looked around and I saw a lot of gray hair, and there weren't a lot of people in my age bracket in working in my professional area, right? So I was thinking, and even back then, that basically we're kind of sitting on a sort of population bomb as it pertains to the workforce, in that once that generation moves on, I'm kind of going to be the best of what's left. I'm going to have to pick up the pieces, and there aren't a lot of us there to pick up that slack or be able to even absorb the knowledge that they're leaving with. Is that one of the things that's kind of driving this strange labor market? Have we basically been a slow explosion on this population bomb?
Yeah, there's a skills gap, and there's a skills gap in sort of the sense of getting training people for that. I mean, for the longest time, there's such a surplus of labor that a lot of the people that were hiring high-skilled people didn't necessarily worry about the training part so much, because there's just so many people out there who already had the skills. I mean, my father, when he graduated from college, he was hired by the oil industry, even though he didn't have any expertise in the industry. They're like, he's just straight out of college. They're like, don't worry about it. We'll train you in that. We have the people for that. Fast forward a couple of decades later, they weren't doing that in colleges at the time I graduated, because they just had that many. They already had all the people they needed, and they stopped looking for sort of training people in that area. And now those same areas, those people have all retired or gone. They don't have the people to replace them, and that's a skill that they need to learn to train people with, and they're having a hard time even finding people who want to be trained in it. So that's part of the issue.
Hey, good morning, Sean. This is Stal Ponticus. I got to say, I have a couple close friends who used to have full-time gigs who are now working 2 to 3 part-time jobs. And I'm sure the government is saying, hey, look, we created more jobs because these guys are working part-time now. And I always have that feeling inside of me like, you guys are fudging the numbers. Something's strange in this whole situation. And to me, that was an indicator of it. We got with friends going from full to 2 to 3 part-time jobs. What's your feeling regarding the situation of families having to deal with that?
Well, I mean, do I think that's a good or a bad thing? Is that the question?
Well, just the fact that the government looks at it like, well, yeah, we're creating more new jobs, and actually folks are just taking 2 to 3 part-time jobs to cover the full-time one that they're no longer working in.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. You should take the official Labor Department numbers in terms of what the unemployment is with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. Actually, the Labor Department puts out 6 numbers every month. And the official one, the one you see in all the news releases and all the stories, the one that says it's 3.5% right now, is called U3. It's it's the third way they calculate out of the 6. Exactly why U3 is considered the official rate, nobody knows. I have, over the last decade and a half, talked to everybody I can in the Labor Department and say, well, why did you decide that U3 was the quote-unquote official number? And they're like, we don't know. We've always just done it that way.
Oh, no.
And there are some people, on both the right and the left who say, well, we should actually use one of the higher calculations, like U5 or U6, which are more sort of inclusive of people who aren't working for various reasons, and that would be a more accurate depiction of where the economy is. And it never sort of gets any traction. And there's the issue where if we suddenly switch the numbers, then the current information is going to be out of whack with all the information we have going back for decades. So it's just a strange situation all around.
All right, we're visiting with Sean Higgins from the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Sean, last question. If you could bend the ear of the policymakers, what would you recommend be done in order to try to get the economy back closer to the lane we should be in and succeeding better?
I'm always reminded of the advice Ronald Reagan would give in situations like this to bureaucrats. Don't just do something, stand there. In other words, get out of the way and just let the economy heal itself.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Don't just do something. Stay there.
Precisely. That's a great thing. All right, Sean Higgins, where do we connect with your work and so people can track your analysis and your research?
Myself and all of my brilliant colleagues can be found at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, which is at CEI.org.
All right, Sean, appreciate the update. Thanks so much for being on.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
All right, 314-912-1019. All right, just ahead here, this was completely predictable. We told you about those clerks who pushed back against the guy that was just brazenly stealing from them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got more information about that guy.
Okay.
And it's really predictable that now they're being investigated.
Of course.
And, of course, the media is turning on the business and the workers for protecting their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did they go too far is the question. Let's talk about that around 6:50 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Can you hear me calling out your name? You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You know that I'm proud and I can't get the words out. I wanna be with you everywhere.
Let's cut a deal at Seidenstricker Nobe Partners. Save up to $5,000 on a select John Deere compact tractor package with our exclusive 10-year warranty. And to make things better, we're offering 0% financing for 60 months with zero down. Get your John Deere equipment by shopping online or visiting us at any of our 28 locations. Let's cut a deal now at Seidenstricker Nobe, snpartners.com.
Offer valid through 9/30/2023. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Adam, man, your aunt parties are the best. I mean, you always find the best kitchens with all the crumbs.
Thanks, man. I love finding these homes to do this at.
Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Unfortunately, nothing happens in Washington. Who gives a damn? Do something about it or abolish the whole frickin' government.
You know what? We need some kind of, I don't know, thermometer. And when Nate's talking, it gets hotter and hotter until it just explodes.
Hey, I like that on the streaming platform. Yep. And it goes up and up and up.
Cartoon thermometer.
Yeah, and it explodes at the very top.
That's what we need.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
What if the music stopped? If the familiar voices were silenced? If there were no breaking news updates? What if your companion and connection to your community came with a monthly fee? Don't worry, we're free local radio with you wherever you go, celebrating 100 years and looking forward to the next 100. We are broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and let Congress know you depend on your local TV and radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Sympathy for criminals in the media. Predictable.
Pretty
We're
standard.
seeing that already. All right, I'm Mike Ferguson. It is 6:50. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Ponticus here. All right, just ahead here. State of Missouri considering putting taxpayers' skin in the game to support a multi-billion-dollar company's expansion in St. Louis. Is it worth it? How about this? Is it moral? Oh, by the way, is it good economics?
That's the question.
Yeah, is it moral as well? All right, just for fun, remember this?
Let him go. Ain't nothing you can do, man, until police come in. Don't do that. Don't do that, man. Don't do that.
Okay, just the context there. Remember, this is a 7-Eleven in or out just outside of Stockton, California, I think it was.
I thought it was our last staff meeting.
Right.
I promise to get the numbers up, Jeff. I promise. I'm sorry.
The beatings will continue until morale improves. So this guy walks in. He's got this big trash can that he is on wheels, like a janitor's trash can, and he's just scooping all of the cigarettes and vaping and stuff, just big arm scooping it.
Behind the counter.
Yeah, he goes behind the counter, and the person who was recording that, you heard him saying, don't. He's talking about these clerks who take this guy to the ground, and they are walloping him with this broomstick or whatever. It was like a big wooden stick. And they're like, don't. He's, you
can't do that.
You can't. Okay. So
that's the mentality anyway.
The guy finally, after getting hit like 20 times, 23 times, he's like, he gives up, asks for a free soft drink. They tell him to get out.
Yeah.
And so he runs off. Now, we learned something over the weekend on this. He's done this to them before.
Okay, so he's not just a repeat offender just in general, but a repeat offender there.
They know this guy, and this is what he does. So police are now investigating the two clerks.
Oh, of course they are. It's California, right?
Right. In California, who beat the guy for trying to steal from them again and just brazenly walk in and stealing their stuff.
Hundreds, possibly thousands of dollars worth of merchandise.
I don't know how much it costs for that stuff because I don't smoke or vape, but it's a lot.
It's behind the counter for a reason.
Right. 314-912-1019. And then the Modesto B writes this very lengthy, I've got reasonably sized, smaller print. It's like a page and a half here. Just going off on these two clerks.
Oh, my gosh.
Basically,
really?
Yeah. So the Modesto B, here are some of the high or low lights for this. It says, it starts off, store clerks have legal options when someone shoplifts. Teaming up to brutally beat the thief isn't one of them. No wonder 2 7-Eleven clerks in Stockton who battered a would-be shoplifter with a wooden rod are being investigated by police. It goes on to say, although brazen stealing is frustrating, costly, and dangerous to store employees, confronting it with violence that far exceeds self-defense is not the answer. So what they're arguing is, well, they went too far against this criminal.
Oh, absolutely screw you. On every single level, screw you. Because look, we're talking about personal property rights here. That's what we're talking about. The right. When they say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness being kind of like the pillars of things that the government's supposed to protect, the pursuit of happiness is just a euphemism for property. If you come after my property, you have forfeited your rights in my presence. I'm going to put my hands on you.
A little bit later in the article, it says frustration doesn't justify violence, because it talks about how it sucks that people are just getting away with all these crimes. It's like, but you got to rely on the system. No, the system isn't protecting you.
The system's broken.
So get this. And I'm reading from this Modesto B opinion now. No doubt the Stockton clerks were frustrated. Authorities say the partially masked man had reportedly stolen from the store before. A Stockton police station is just across the street from the store, which may have contributed to the frustration of the store clerks. But again, we don't know that. Shouldn't assume that. And even if this were the case, frustration over theft on commercial property is not a justification for violence in the lies of the law. Here's the thing. I bet you that guy doesn't come back in and try to steal from him.
Yeah. You know what? Violence in that situation is morally defensible. I'll say it that way. Maybe California law is screwed up and backwards about protecting criminals and having problems with people who want to defend themselves. But on a from a moral standpoint, yes, it was warranted. And don't try to the obfuscating language that they use. Like, frustration isn't a reason for violence. We're not talking about a road rage incident. Right. We're not talking about somebody who cut you off. We're not talking about somebody who moved a little too slow at the red light or even ran the red light. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody coming in and disrupting my livelihood.
Right.
No, I'm going to put my hands on you.
Right. And we're seeing this over and over because word has gotten out in any sort of deep blue left-wing area. It is a pro-criminal approach. We cannot be surprised when property owners, when workers decide we're going to stop it if you're not going to. I mean, look at what a pro-criminal mindset has brought in cities like New York City, like Chicago, like St. Louis, like Portland, like San Francisco, like Oakland.
Right.
I mean, you just go on and on and on and on and on. And what's happening else, people are saying, we're done. If you won't stop them, we will.
One of the kind of founding ideas in a civil society is this general understanding that that you have a right to violence in certain situations. You have a right to do that. And in advanced civilizations, advanced societies, we kind of borrow our right to violence off to agents of the government. Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way we do that. Now, if those agents of the government fail to properly exercise that right that we kind of borrowed out to them, we still retain the right to take it back.
And did you notice the instinct, like, stop, nothing you can do about it?
Yeah, the nothing you can do about it.
And those guys are like, yeah, there is.
Yeah. It's like, I got a stick right here. I got hands.
Right.
It's like, I'm actually bigger than this guy, the first guy said, right?
Yeah.
I'm bigger than this guy. I can hold him.
Yeah. And, but that's what we're seeing as a mindset that says, you know what, just let him get away with it. We don't want anybody getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if that thief gets hurt.
No.
Are there limits? Sure.
Yeah.
But this guy had been in there and they sent a message and they defended their property their workplace property.
He walked out, so I think it was proportional violence.
Just ahead, let's talk about some corporate welfare in St. Louis. Is it worth it?
When it's important to you, stay informed. It's on News Talk STL.
We all have so much more in common than what separates us.
With all due respect, that's a bunch of malarkey. There hasn't been a Republican official in the country that has beat the Democrats more on issue after issue. We can't take a chance in this election.
News, analysis, and opinion.
My general opinion of testimony in Congress is that most of it's just BS.
101.9 and 94.1.
I don't know what's happening.
News Talk STL.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Human trafficking is occurring right here in Missouri. You can help combat it by learning the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. Victims may appear malnourished, show signs of mental or physical abuse, or avoid social interaction. If you're a victim or know someone who needs help, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text the word HELP to Be Free. Together, we can fight human trafficking in Missouri.
Brought to you by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Pressing its claims on the South China Sea, Chinese Coast Guard vessels have turned water cannons on Philippine vessels in that disputed waterway. The Philippine government summoning Beijing's ambassador, filing a strongly worded diplomatic protest. One leading China watcher says Beijing has exploited its U.S. investments for decades to help build up its power.
China didn't ever embrace capitalism. The country almost fell apart during the Cultural Revolution. They effectively had no choice. And Xi Jinping was never a reformer. He used the West and our foreign direct investment to his own ends.
Investment analyst Mary Kissel, former senior advisor to then Secretary of State Pompeo, speaking on the Salem News Channel. It's been a deadly charter bus crash in Pennsylvania on Interstate 81 near Harrisburg. Happened just before midnight. State police report multiple fatalities after the bus and another vehicle collided, the bus flipping on its side. The crash of a firefighting helicopter, Riverside County, Southern California, claimed the lives of 3 crew members. The helicopter and another copter collided in midair. The second aircraft landed safely. The NTSB is investigating. The caring profession has become an increasingly dangerous profession.
Shootings and other attacks are increasing at hospitals across the U.S., contributing to health care becoming one of the nation's most violent fields. Numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics show American healthcare workers are now far more likely to suffer non-fatal injuries by violence than workers in any other profession, including law enforcement. They racked up 73% of all such injuries in 2018. That's the most recent year for which figures are available. Ron DeRockstra reporting.
Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures up 58 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt. I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you called Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me, and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Can't rule out an isolated spot shower through the morning, but otherwise I expect a dry day with a lot of cloud cover overhead. Winds picking up as well. They're going to be coming from the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Temperatures, you'll like these, sitting near 80 degrees. And then tomorrow we're also seeing temperatures in the mid-80s. Watch for Wednesday for our next chance at showers and some strong thunderstorms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, hundreds of jobs are involved, so should taxpayers be supporting the business in question? It's another corporate welfare versus public investment. That is a popular term these days, public investment, because politicians are investing in this sector. They're just investing with other people's money.
You could invest in America's by not taking our money in taxes in the first place. That's the thing.
Yeah. All right. How about this? Just ahead here. Payday is here for protesters who blocked streets. Find out how much one local government is paying out just for getting them out of the street. We're going to talk about that at 7:20. It is 7:06 right now.
That stuff makes me so mad.
Oh, just wait till 7:20.
Oh, boy.
All right. Gabe's here and Stell's here. I'm Mike Ferguson. Boeing wants to expand in St. Louis, bring about 500 jobs to the area, probably pretty good paying ones, I would think. And so, great. That's all fantastic. We just like fantastic, great. You know, grow the jobs here. And now the state government is saying that we're going to help sort of subsidize it with a bunch of tax incentives and breaks. And Sam Page is on board with this. And so what we're looking at is a break on the real and the personal property taxes for up to 10 years for Boeing. We're joined now by Jeremy Cady from Americans for Prosperity. He runs the Missouri chapter as well. Jeremy, good to chat with you again. So really what we're talking about is Boeing says they're going to come in, spend a lot of money to expand, bring about 500 jobs to the area, but Boeing says that's only going to work if we get a different set of tax rules than everybody else. Am I close?
That sounds about right, and I especially love the cuts on the property taxes also, because everyone is facing higher assessed values right now. Everyone's property tax bills are going through the roof, and guess what? Part of that is because we have companies just like this that are getting a deal that is not available to you or I.
Well, and the funny thing is, Jeremy, in St. Louis County, because even though it's the St. Louis City Airport, it's in St. Louis County, they're the ones that would have to do this. They just turned down a proposal to freeze property tax bills for senior citizens, but yet we're talking about moving forward with a 50% tax break on real and personal property tax for 10 years for a multi-billion-dollar company's expansion.
I don't know a Missourian that would not take that deal if it was offered to them. You know, and I mean, great for Boeing that you've got enough insiders in government right now that they'll give you anything that you want. But yeah, is this the appropriate use of government to give someone a deal that is not available to the rest of us? And I think it was Gabe that had mentioned it earlier. How about just give us all a tax cut instead of doling us out? And again, this is for 500 jobs. So what was it, back in 2019, the Missouri legislature and the governor pushed a tax credit for GM. That was not actually to add any new jobs. I think that was to help save jobs. And then I think by November of that year, GM said, oh, we're going to cut jobs anyway. Thank you for the tax money. We're still going to cut jobs anyway. These things just don't work as intended. They never have. And I love the idea. Let's cut taxes. How many jobs would we create if we cut everybody's taxes? I would say far more than 500.
So are we getting a tacit admission by government and by these corporations that tax policy matters and that taxes do retard economic growth?
I think so. And I think, because oftentimes whenever they talk about tax credits, say in Jefferson City, they're like, well, we can't get a full broad tax cut done. So, this is a tax cut. We are cutting, somebody's taxes. And I guess there's some truth to that, but you're cutting one person's taxes. You don't just cut one person's taxes and force the rest of us to make up for it. What you need to be doing is getting your spending under control. I think I heard we have upwards to $8 billion now and extra funds sitting there at the state. And you don't pick winners and losers. If you treat us all fairly and equally, and if you're going to cut one person's taxes, cut them for all of us. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where, businesses are like, hey, taxes are stifling, and they are. No one questions that. Taxes are stifling, and what we need to be doing is looking at tax policy that helps us all and not just one business, though.
Yeah, well, Boeing's a little tight on cash, right? They don't have any money. I mean, a multi-billion-dollar corporation that says, well, we need a tax break for this to make it happen. So let me play the devil's advocate part here. Hey, it's going to bring in 500 jobs. They're investing $2 billion. Why shouldn't the government support that? Why shouldn't this group get a tax break because they are bringing 500 jobs into the area?
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't support that. We should definitely applaud Boeing for wanting to make an expansion. I think it's a $2 billion investment, like you said, 500, potentially 500 new jobs. I think they've got 16,000 employees currently in the region. We should applaud them for that. We should thank them for that. I know oftentimes you hear from the left and progressives, oh, corporations are evil and bad and this, that, and the other. Like, no. they, like you said, they are supplying great jobs to good people. But at the same time, though, they're not the only ones hurting. We've been going door to door. Americans for Prosperity. We've been going across the state door to door. We've been in other states going door to door. And guess what? It's tough for a lot of Americans right now. We've been facing, it's been going around. Biden's been going around, touting his Bidenomics. And I don't know who goes around and applauds and celebrates the fact that prices have skyrocketed since the time that they took office. But at the same time, though, and gas prices right now just shooting through the roof again. I don't know if you've noticed that at the gas pump, but I have. But Americans, and Missourians even more specifically, are feeling it. They're feeling it in their checkbooks. They're feeling it whenever they're trying to put groceries on the table. They're feeling it whenever they're trying to pay their electric bill. My electric bill was the highest this month, and it's been in a very, very long time, if ever. And we're feeling it. And to say that, we've got this business over here, we're going to give them a special handout while ignoring the plight of the rest of Missourians, I think is wrong, if not even close to being evil.
So are we talking about just flat out corporate welfare in this particular case, Jeremy?
It is, and it's one of those things where, and I talked to a lot of Republicans under the dome on this, and a lot of them like, hey, we need to regulate and restrict and do all these things for social welfare, but whenever it comes to the corporate welfare, they're like, here's the check, take it, and that's wrong. It's one of those things where we need to really, I think, focus on ratcheting down on government taking money from you and I and writing a check to a company just because they promise that they might maybe create 500 jobs. And again, 500 jobs, that's a drop in the bucket. We have 300, not 300, but we got about 3 million in the workforce right now. It's 0.01% of the workforce. And again, I would say a good tax cut would probably increase jobs even more than that. Unfortunately, though, that type of stuff doesn't make the paper.
Hey, good morning, Jeremy. Sal Ponticus here. I know Boeing has campuses worldwide, including, I believe, 3 others here in the States. Is that correct? Seattle, Miami, and Northern Virginia. I'm just wondering, in the instance of the other campuses here in the States, have they tried to get similar subsidies or tax incentives to help them out in those particular areas?
That's a good question, and I don't know. I have not seen that, and I have not looked that up. That's a great question, and I think they also had one out in California. Whenever Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas here in St. Louis, my grandfather actually had to move out to Fresno because he worked for Boeing, or he worked for McDonnell Douglas, which then became Boeing, and he retired from there. And so I know the value that Boeing can have to its employees. It's been a big part of my family for a number of years now. But yeah, to your point, I don't know if they've asked others and maybe trying to pin them against one another like Amazon did previously with a bunch of cities across the nation. But I think at some point in time, Americans across the board, whether it's in Missouri, Washington, or one of these other campuses, have to start saying no. If anything, let's just cut taxes for everybody. If we don't need this money in government, let's just let everyone keep it in your wallets, and then you spend it as you see fit.
Okay, real quick, another tax credit situation. The governor has now agreed that the film tax credits, the TV and film production tax credits, have come back to Missouri. Jeremy, I remember when these were eliminated because they were so ineffective and did nothing. What has been brought back?
All right. So if you do some of your film production in the state of Missouri, you can actually get a tax credit for that. And I forget the percentage of it, but a portion of your costs gets returned back to you. So basically what occurs is a bunch of Hollywood elites come from California out to Missouri. They set up shop in their area that they're going to film their shoot. They usually bring their labor along with them. Sometimes a lot of people touted the idea that, this is going to create jobs. I don't think they saw that in Georgia. I think a lot of this labor is temporary in the state, and it comes from out of state. And so they come in, they shoot their film, and then they basically turn over the receipts and say, hey, these were our costs. And then the state, using your tax dollars, then writes a check to these Hollywood elites and says, thank you for coming. But I think it's one of those things, too, where, again, this is picking winners and losers. The film industry isn't doing that great right now. I mean, if you look at a lot of the stocks, you look at a lot of stocks involved in the film industry, whether it's Disney, Paramount, or even some of the theaters like AMC and all these others. They're not doing great right now. And there's a whole bunch of different reasons for that. But it's one of those things where whenever you're talking to legislators in Jefferson City, you're like, hey, let's do stuff that's innovative and looking forward, and like, hey, how about a film tax credit? Well, that failed before. Like, we've already tried that. Why are we? The tax commission of the state of Missouri actually said this does not work. You should repeal it and get rid of it. And if I recall somewhere, and I forget, someone mentioned it, I think on Twitter or X or whatever it might be now, that we just recently finished up filming a movie here in Missouri. And I, for the life of me, I can't find it right now. But something was just shot in Missouri, and I find that funny. Because along with the film tax credit, we also passed the entertainment tax credit, which is supposed to, if someone comes in and I guess they do the rehearsals here in Missouri, then they can get a tax credit if they then also do their concerts. And that was sold as, hey, you have to have this to bring folks in to do concerts here in the state of Missouri. But goodness gracious, we've just had like Taylor Swift out in Kansas City. We've had a whole bunch of concerts all over the state of Missouri just recently, and the tax credit isn't in place yet. So I'm calling baloney on that one. And again, someone had mentioned that a film was actually just shot in Missouri, and the film tax credit is not in effect yet. I don't believe it goes into effect until at the end of this month. So apparently Missouri is a good place to do business, and people recognize that, and we didn't need the tax credits after all.
Jeremy, with the film industry kind of going through its major woes right now, it would seem like Hollywood decentralization may be something we want to jump into. We may want to attract film production here, but how would we do that in the smartest way?
Oh, you cut off there at the end.
I'm sorry. How would we attract film production to the state in a better way than with film credits?
Well, and that's a great question. And my question back to you is, why is it maybe film that we want to attract to Missouri? Maybe there's some other type of business that would actually be better suited for Missouri and Missourians. Whenever I look at some of the stuff that goes on in the film industry, I personally don't want to have a whole lot to do with it. I'll be honest. And so, do we really want that here in the state of Missouri? My question back to your question is, what makes the film industry the big hot thing that we actually need to have here in Missouri? And I would say one of the reasons why people really push this is because they might be able to meet a celebrity, and whenever you're talking about what creates value and not, I wouldn't say that would be necessarily it. But maybe we need, more data scientists. Maybe we need, more industry, more manufacturing. There's a big push for more manufacturing, especially with the automation and whatnot. Maybe that's what we need. And the problem is the Missouri legislature and the governor, they don't know enough about the economy and the market to understand what we do need or don't need. And that's why you allow broad-based tax cuts. That's why you deregulate as much as possible. So that way, whatever business needs to take place here in the state of Missouri moves in and does. And we're not the ones being the central planners and dictators of it.
All right, Jeremy Cady from Americans for Prosperity. What's the socials, website? People want to follow what you do, and I hope that they do.
We're both on Facebook and X Twitter, AFP Missouri. That's where you find most of our information.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Good chat with you again.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
All right. Just ahead here, it is payday, man.
Mm-hmm.
Payday if you went out and blocked streets and threw rocks at the mayor's house. Payday.
This makes me so mad.
They are literally cutting checks. People are getting calls. Come pick up your check for tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh, my God. And this isn't a trap to get people on the felonies, right?
No.
No,
it's not one of those.
Because I love those.
Oh, yeah. Those are
fun.
No, this is literally checks being written because police enforce the law.
Oh, my gosh.
I'll tell you all about it right around 7:22 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Stop right now before you blow us all away. Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Will the fourth Trump indictment drop on Monday? Jim Talent to discuss. Are the walls closing in on the Biden's bribery scheme with Susie Moore?
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michael's Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michael's, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
So we finally got the parts for the time machine. Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s. Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks. Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com. Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa. 90s New Country streaming now.
News commentary.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis invited Vice President Kamala Harris to meet with him to discuss the state's new Black history curriculum, but shocker, she declined. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Starting August 22nd, the U.S. dollar may have new competition from a new global supercurrency backed by Russia and China. And if the dollar plummets, your retirement could follow. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. I recommend a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. I encourage you to act. Before August 22nd, text SHELTER to 989898 to get your free information kit on gold now.
Big hoopla over Florida's new Black history curriculum, with even some notable voices on the right voicing concern over a small part of the instruction regarding how slaves developed skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. Kamala too pounced on that line, declaring it to be extremist propaganda designed to indoctrinate children. Regardless of your personal take on that line of instruction, it is important to note that the College Board's Advanced Placement African American Studies course contains almost the same language as Florida's new African American history curriculum written for middle schoolers. But either way, if Kamala is so fired up, why not go to Tallahassee and meet with the governor to debate and discuss? Is her schedule of selfie taking and awkward laughing just too demanding? I think not. The real reason she declined is obvious. She doesn't know what she's talking about, and hint, hint, she never does. I'm Tommy Lahren.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
David Coverdale, pop singer.
This is probably the poppiest song
that I remember. Yeah.
Although they had that one ballad. Oh, gosh.
The Deeper the Love?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the video with Tawny Kitaen was not hard to watch. I'm just saying. By the way, people forget he was, before Whitesnake, was the singer for Deep Purple.
Really?
He goes way back. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Some great days in Deep Purple.
That's right.
That's right.
By the way, payday is here for anti-police, using air quotes, protesters who blocked streets in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
You just heard from Larry Connors a second ago. Starting today, we've got a new weeknight lineup. This is exciting. There truly was a demand for more Larry Connors. I mean, let me tell you something, a lot of radio stations say that. There actually was.
Yes.
People were saying 1
Legit.
hour is not enough, and I'm not kidding. The radio stations say that, and it's often BS.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
In this case. So Larry Connors, instead of being on from 6 to 7, is going to be on from 6 to 8, right
Woo.
after Tim Jones and Chris Arps. And then Joe Pags then will just start at 8 o'clock. And then, as of tonight, the new addition to the News Talk STL lineup is Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Starting tonight. So exciting stuff right there. NewsTalkSTL.com for more information. Okay, so checks are literally being handed out right now.
This makes me so mad.
Okay, so here's what's happened. Back in 2017, that is when the St. Louis police officer was acquitted for shooting Anthony Lamar Smith in 2011. Now, Anthony Lamar Smith, there was a police chase. He was suspected of dealing, some hardcore drugs. The police officer in this case said he was reaching for a gun. He shot him. He was self-defense. The prosecutor, which would be Kimberly Gardner, accused the police officer of planting the gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I missed that aspect of the story. Wow.
And the jury said there's no evidence of that, or not, and not enough evidence of it. They said that they were not buying it, and the police officer was acquitted.
Okay.
In 2017, and there were a bunch of protests, which started off peacefully and then turned not so peacefully.
Yeah, kind of standard operating procedure there.
I mean, some of them went to the mayor's house. They were throwing rocks and bricks at the mayor's house. At least one window was broken out. At least one police car had its window smashed in. 4 police officers were hurt, and people were flooding streets and blocking streets throughout, downtown and some other areas.
That doesn't sound like peaceful protest,
No.
like the exercise of a constitutional right type of stuff. That
Precisely.
sounds like a riot.
So police in the areas where they were blocking streets were saying, you got to disperse. You can't block the streets, and people did it anyway. And the police used the now infamous tactic of kettling, where they got into a line, slanted the line, and moved them off the road.
Sure, like kind of herding cats.
Right, herding cats. And then there was some force used. There was some pepper spray used. There were some people knocked over. A lot of people were arrested in this. And then 84 people were awarded a settlement from the city after suing, saying the police were too mean to them.
It's so amazing. It's
Yeah.
so amazing to me. My goodness. And this kind of ties right in with what our VP was doing, right? Where she had a fund to bail out people who were being arrested for these protests, right? So they could go back to the street. Well, yeah. Well, pick a riot, right? It's just like, okay, So the left, the Democrats, they're funding these things basically.
And the thing is that when you looked at the overhead footage of this kettling technique, I think they were mad because they were being pushed and forced off the street.
Yeah.
They just weren't being allowed to do what they were still doing. When you're blocking streets and highways, you're no longer peacefully protesting.
No.
You're violating the rights of other people.
Right.
Okay? And so these checks are at least $28,000 per person.
Per person.
And
Oh my gosh.
Some of them go up to $150,000.
Oh my gosh.
So what's the message being sent here? And by the way, the city, as part of the settlement, admits no wrongdoing. So they're not
sure.
They're basically like, we don't, it's a settlement. It is, they want to avoid all the trials.
Right.
So what's the message being sent here, Gabe?
Well, that message says the next time there's a crazy protest where they block the road, you do so and you antagonize the police as much as possible to get arrested, and then you collect the check a couple years later.
Fight back, push them, fight them, resist as much as you can.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll use pepper spray.
Hey.
Maybe they'll knock you to the ground, and then you can get paid, baby.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, they do the man on the street interviews like, okay, would you do this for X number of dollars? Those kind of questions that they always like. What would you get pepper sprayed and arrested for $100,000?
A lot of people would say, heck yeah.
A lot of people would say, heck yeah. I think we're talking about the people who, just earlier when we were talking to Sean, who aren't working, they don't feel like they need to go get a job right now. And they could use either somewhere between $28,000 and $100,000, right?
I could use another $28,000. I mean, my bills are paid. And I could use an extra $28,000.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sneezing at that amount of money. I mean, that's my basement remodel right there.
That's right.
I'm putting out money right now.
Sadly, I'm sensing a trend here because it started in New York City a couple of months ago, I believe, when they decided to shell out over $6 million to protesters.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that happened over there too.
That was, I believe, from 2020, from the protests during the summer of quote-unquote
Summer of love. Yeah.
Which is not the summer of love that I remember from the 60s. But anyway, that's another story for another day.
Hey, Stell, how much was that again?
It was over $6 million.
Over $6 million. And this is $4.9 million in the settlement.
Oh my
4.9.
gosh. That's
So
crazy.
basically what has happened is over and over and over. Now, maybe it's not going to be quite as bad that Kimberly Gardner's not in office. But what happens now is the police know you do your job. You lay a finger on somebody because they're resisting or whatever, you're going to end up costing the city money or you're going to be in trouble. And then we're wondering why it's harder to recruit police into the city of St. Louis. Not the city government's trying all that hard, but we wonder why it's getting harder. And again, we go back to this same base point, same base camp of discussion. Why are people leaving the city of St. Louis and trying to get as far away from the city as possible?
Well, it looks to me as though the government officials who sit firmly on the left have decided that the police are not allowed to do their job, which is controlled violence in order to suppress craziness in society, and then you are not allowed to do exercise your right to use restrained violence in order to hold down society, and you would be arrested later. So it sounds like the people who support those sort of ideologies, those sort of policies, they want society to implode.
Yeah.
That's all I can draw from the conclusion of what I'm seeing with my own eyes.
Yeah. So if you were a part of that, you're literally getting phone calls saying, "Hey, come pick up your check."
Oh my gosh.
And there was a Channel 2 story on it. People like, "Here's what I'm going to do with the money."
Really?
It's like, I just won the lottery.
Oh my
Well, they kind of did. So the next time some, radical left-wing Marxist group says, "We're going to go protest," whose streets? Our streets. Now you're kind of going, "Ooh, I got some bills to pay, man." Hey, I want to throw a banger party. I need some, hire that DJ. I mean, this is the mindset that's going to be added to this because, hey, you get into a fight with a cop, decent chance that you're going to get some money for it.
At this point, the only thing I can hope for is that another criminal robs them.
Yeah.
Like that's like my faith now is in the other criminals.
There you go. All right, just ahead here. Is it hypocritical? Let's turn the camera on ourselves here.
Okay.
Is it hypocritical for Patriots to root against Team USA?
Interesting question.
Okay.
I think I know where you're going.
That's how I'm framing it. Let's talk about it at 7:36 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Can't rule out an isolated spot shower through the morning, but otherwise I expect a dry day with a lot of cloud cover overhead. Winds picking up as well. They're going to be coming from the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Temperatures, you'll like these, sitting near 80 degrees. And then tomorrow we're also seeing temperatures in the mid-80s. Watch for Wednesday for our next chance at showers and some strong thunderstorms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote and accelerate the development of quality, Christ-centered K-12 education.
Hi, this is Daryl Jones, president of the Herzog Foundation. Our primary goal is to advance Christian education so that families and culture flourish. The legacy of Stan's business career centers around making national transit ecosystems accessible and sustainable. Likewise, the legacy of Stan's philanthropy centers around making the ecosystems of Christian education more accessible and sustainable for families across the nation. Visit HerzogFoundation.com to learn more about our programs, including trainings, scholarships, conferences, news, and our podcast, Making the Leap.
Visit HerzogFoundation.com to learn more and sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. HerzogFoundation.com.
Staff Sergeant Mark Anthony Madrid.
Staff Sergeant Samantha Cowell.
I'm Staff Sergeant Alex
Staff
Steele.
Sergeant William Lewis, and I am proud to defend my family and our nation.
The Air Force Reserve is part of the story of this great nation.
I'm grateful that I have a chance to wear the uniform of the heroes that went before me.
I'm proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference in the world.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as reserve citizen airmen. Even as technology evolves and changes, our commitment to defend and protect this nation remains steadfast. We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving. We celebrate our proud history and look towards an exciting and uniting future. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
And I am proud to be a member.
And I'm proud to serve in the United States.
And I am proud to protect our country.
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
This is Julia Gordon-Bramer, your host of Mystic Fix. I'm a professional tarot card reader, author, and scholar of mysticism. Mystic Fix offers playful, practical advice and spiritual tools for modern living. It's a program for the whole being and journeying the lesser-traveled paths. Each show features guests and authors in lively conversation, ranging from crystals to Kabbalah, yoga to Yetis, and of course, tarot card reading.
Mystic Fix, Saturday nights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president. We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Stell was listening last week. This is my favorite Eddie Money song.
It's a good tune.
Stell's good like that.
Okay, all right, let's get for reals here.
Okay, for real.
Are patriots, meaning us?
Yes, us.
Are we hypocritical for rooting against Team USA?
Well, what are the circumstances behind this?
Let's talk about those circumstances.
Okay.
All right. Don't forget, News Talk STL on demand. Like, this may be a conversation you want to put up in front of some of your liberal friends.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, liberal friends, this is the perfect time to call out conservatives.
Yeah.
If you want. 314-912-1019.
I'll let you call me names.
That's right.
Just for a minute or two.
Just not the ones that we have to bleep out.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so
don't you cuss on this here radio.
That's right. So we don't forget our podcasts and our on-demand listening. You can take us with you anytime you want. Subscribe to the podcast or whatever platform you're on. Okay, so I have not been covering USA women's national team in the Soccer World Cup because, frankly, I just don't really follow soccer at all. I just don't care.
Yeah, soccer, period.
Had they won, I still wouldn't care.
Yeah, men's, women's soccer doesn't
care.
Doesn't count.
And I used to follow the men's team, pretty closely. I played soccer as a kid. Mm-hmm. Soccer is a growing sport internationally.
Sure.
This is by far and away the biggest sport in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and so I get how huge it is. I just. We Americans don't understand an insurmountable 1-0 lead. Okay, that does not compute with our culture.
We don't
I'm just
like
saying.
it. We don't like it.
I'm glad they built a medium-sized stadium over here, and the soccer team, the guys with the pink uniforms, they're doing fine. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what happened: is the U.S. women's team, which is known, I think it's safe to say they are known more for their leftist activism than they are what they do on the field.
Yes, absolutely. I've definitely seen more of them being outspoken about either feminist stuff or LGBT stuff or BLM stuff than I have seen of their highlight reels.
Right, exactly. And they've won the last 2 World Cups.
Right.
So by women's sports standards, this has been a dominant team.
They're top.
Right.
Or they were.
Used to be.
Yeah.
So they lost in the round of 16.
Mm-hmm.
They got beat by Sweden.
Yeah, which is earliest loss
ever
in that tournament
for the U.S. team.
Mm-hmm.
Megan Rapinoe, the purple-haired weirdo,
yes,
who hates basically everybody.
Mm-hmm. Team spokesman for all things, all things horrible.
Yeah, she actually missed the crucial penalty kick in their shootout to essentially secure the loss for the U.S.
And it was a bad miss.
Oh, it was ridiculously bad.
Yeah.
And so she essentially goes out because she's retiring after, well, now she's retired. She's retiring, and that's how she went out.
Yeah.
Being the person who sealed the humiliating loss to Sweden. Okay?
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of us did.
Yeah.
On social media in particular.
I didn't even know it happened until conservative media started jumping all over it.
That's true.
Because conservative media, we cover when, and I haven't even talked about Megan Rapinoe probably in 2 years because I'm like, she's just another, liberal out there leftist, who doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Flapping her gums.
Yeah.
Whatever. There's a lot of those out there. So I'll cover the ones who are more important than her.
Yeah.
And conservative media went all over the place. But what was kind of interesting and kind of fun for me was going through the comments on Facebook of all the news sites and Twitter and all these sorts of things, and looking at the leftists who go, oh, now you're not Team USA, now you're not patriotic, now you're not proud. How does you conservatives, now you're not cheering for the United States, you hypocrite? Okay, so let's ask the question: are we being hypocritical by rooting against Team USA?
Now, and here's the question though, because if you are pro USA, right, then Team USA is supposed to be representative of the USA that you love.
By definition.
By definition.
Yes.
So when you see those players out there and they're wearing your colors, they got their flag, our flag on their, a flag patch on their shoulder or whatever on their back. However, they identify Team USA in whatever sport we're talking about. There's a certain level of decorum you're expecting. Somebody who also respects America, also loves America, also is a good representative of America. When that person is not any of those things, and you don't want them representing you as America, I'm glad when they fail.
Even though Team USA lost.
Even though Team USA lost, because that's not real Team USA.
Right.
Those are Team USA pretenders to me.
So the criticism that we're being hypocrites, we conservatives, because we're cheering against Team USA when all we ever do other than that is my pronouns are USA, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, I think when you've got an activist group who is given the privilege of representing the United States and they spit in our faces for years. The World Cup's every, 4 years?
4 years, yep.
And so you're looking at now over a decade of this group of athletes spitting in the country's face.
Yes.
Using their platform, to use the left's terms, using their platform to denigrate the country.
Yes, on many levels.
Yeah, over and over and over. Then I don't feel any need to actually cheer for you. Now, keep in mind that I think most of the international sports stuff is gone leftist and woke enough. I don't even care about the Olympics anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
But with this particular team, going back from their protest stuff, and listen, their private lives, they can say what they want. You've got market consequences, and this is a market consequence. And Megan Rapinoe was asked, what's her best memory? What's she most proud of? What does she cherish the most?
Most important to her.
Yeah, from her time on Team USA. And here's what she had to say.
Is there a memory that stands out to you right now in this moment?
Probably equal pay chance after the final. And I think, they were saying equal pay, but could have been saying a lot of things. I think this team has always fought for so much more, and that's been the most rewarding part for me. Of course, playing in World Cups and winning championships and doing all that, but, to know that we've used our really special talent to do something that's really changed the world forever.
Okay, first of all, your sense of self-importance is as spot on as that penalty kick was.
She sailed right over the mark.
You did not change the world on anything, you dummy.
No, not at all.
Did
not at all.
Well, you're not that important.
Well, except that she did highlight a lot of the stupidity that goes on in feminist and leftist circles. Because her desire for equal pay is basically a desire to have less pay. If you want to go by percentages of revenues, right? Because the women earn a larger share of the revenue that their league brings in than the men do.
Oh, yeah.
By far.
When you look proportionally, they are ridiculously overpaid.
Yes.
Because the men's team brings in far, far, far more. And the Women's World Cup and the women's soccer, I mean, you can argue that's not fair and fans should treat them both. Okay, convince the fans to buy more stuff and watch the games. That's the market.
Hey,
that's fine.
If all the feminists that were squawking actually bought bought gear and bought tickets, you'd be earning pretty good amount of money.
Yeah, or at least in proportion with their volume.
Yeah, exactly.
As well.
So the thing is, look, if I was out there misrepresenting my family, and I was making bad choices, and my bad choices led me to a failure, my dad would cheer that failure. He absolutely would, and say, "See, I told you."
See, here's the thing. Did you notice what she did not say? She referenced, yeah, we won World Cups and championships, but, and then went on to the activism stuff.
Yeah.
Not one time in that answer did she say, I was allowed to represent my country.
Yes. That's actually the right answer. For any athlete who represents the United States, that should be one of the big deals, right? Being able to get to that level where you are in your sport where you get to represent your country. That's the answer we've heard from pretty much every major figure in the world sports level, whether it would be the Olympics or world championships of any kind. That's the right answer.
Yeah,
and everybody knows it's the right answer, and she made sure she did not give it.
And if you are an athlete of any kind, getting to represent a region, a state, a country is a cool thing. Listen, as silly as it sounds, and I know this sounds silly, October, I'm going back down to Florida, playing in the old man baseball tournament. I like the fact that I'm actually representing St. Louis, even if it's something as silly as a 45 and over age group baseball tournament, because I'm playing against other regions. I'm playing against Chicago. I'm playing against Cincinnati. I'm playing against Minneapolis. I'm playing against Guam. I'm playing against the team from Canada. I'm playing against that's a lot of fun, and it's just kind of a cool aspect of it. And so for people to basically say it's about me and my activism, well, then don't be confused when people hate you.
Yeah, I mean, now that you make me think of it, Mike, pretty much even high school athletes understand the importance of being able to represent one thing or another. It's like if you're on the high school team and you get to go to a regional competition, I'm just glad I got to represent my high school. If you go on there, it's like I'm at the state level. I'm just glad I get to represent my region or division this or what. Everybody understands that who's in sports.
Yeah.
So she basically spit in all y'all's faces.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm glad for my platform. Give me more money.
Go away. All right, and she is now. All right, just ahead here, we're pressured a lot to say just defer to the kids. Should we always defer to the kids?
Yeah, or the moms.
Or the moms, and or both of them? A guy got in a little bit of trouble on the internet for telling a kid and his mom or her mom to pound sand. He didn't say pound sand. He just said, I paid for this. This is mine. You can go away. I'll tell you what he did, what the internet kind of argument debate is. Talk about that just ahead right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Donald J. Trump.
What happens next?
This may be the most important criminal trial ever brought by the federal government in the history of the country.
Happens right here.
The gravest political crime since secession.
Political speech now has been criminalized.
Will Trump serve his next term in the White House or in the Big House?
That's exactly what Jack Smith did. He knows what he's doing.
St. Louis's place to talk.
It's going to be tough. This guy's dance card is filling up fast.
1019 and 94.1.
A continuation of the most disgusting witch hunt.
News Talk STL.
Did you see there was a tornado warning last night? point, I was really surprised to see that. Thank God that there were no major storms or damages. But when you think about the severe weather that comes through St. Louis, it means you also need to think about making sure your home is strong enough to withstand anything that nature can throw at it, and that includes your windows. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at Window World. They are simply the best for less. If you've got a tornado watch, you've got a tornado warning, and you know there could be damage, could be limbs blowing around everywhere, do you want the generic windows that you can go down to the home improvement store and get, or would you like to have double-strength glass windows that are so strong that they have a lifetime warranty with them? Obviously, that's the answer that you want, and here's a bonus. They're likely less expensive, and that lifetime warranty means you're never going to have to pay to replace them, even if something happens. That's how much Window World stands behind their windows. Give them a call today, 314-993-1800. I will give you that number again here in just a moment, and get your free in-home estimate and let them show you what they can do for you and how much money they can save you up front, how much money they can save you by improving the thermal efficiency of your home, and how much money they would save you if, for instance, something did go wrong and there's a massive storm that came in and knocked out those windows, which is probably not going to happen. 70,000 customers in St. Louis agree Window World is simply the best for less. They're actually the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. Once again, 314-993-1800. There is a difference, and that difference is going to save you money now and down the road. Go to windowworld.com for more information, but the best thing to do is just get that free in-home estimate and let them show you how they are simply the best for less. Once again, 314-993-1800.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
To battle is to fight, to struggle, to overcome. And ultimately, for the Marine Corps, it means to win. There is no alternative. It's not just a statement of intent. It's a promise to our nation. A promise kept for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
All right, quick little discussion here. Should you always defer to the kiddos?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually agree with you.
Okay.
But there was a little bit of a debate on the interwebs about this.
The interwebernets has spoken.
Reddit has this great place where it's AITA.
Yeah. Am I the a-hole?
Yes.
I love that Reddit.
I love
actually
those.
because it's a source of all kinds of great stories.
And I found one on there.
Okay.
By the way, just ahead here, 8:04, 8:05 maybe, how are we going to handle the next quote-unquote pandemic? Are we going to roll over like we did before? Dr. Everett Piper, you read his work in the Washington Times editorial. He's with us.
Okay.
And he wrote a really hard-hitting editorial on this. So I wanted to talk to him, so we're going to hear from him here in just a little bit. I went to, Rachel and I went and saw Oppenheimer yesterday. And unfortunately, we bought our tickets kind of last minute, so we were in the first row.
Oh, you were right there.
Looking straight up at Oppenheimer.
So that explosion looked epic.
Oh, yeah.
More epic.
Yeah.
Epicer. It was the epicest.
Yes. But it means you get a bad seat. You get a bad seat.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
It's just not. It's not as much fun to see the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a incredibly nuanced and complicated movie. It was phenomenal acting and phenomenal writing, and you know, I thought it was a very good movie.
Between Nolan and that cast, yeah, that's what you expect.
Yeah,
I still got to
exactly.
get out to see
It's
it.
really
I just haven't
good.
had the time yet.
3 hours. Go to the bathroom before.
Okay.
So this guy on Reddit, he and his girlfriend, he's 22. He and his girlfriend went to see Barbie on Friday. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 'cause I'm like, okay.
First of all.
So if you don't have a lot of sympathy for him, I get it. So here's what happened. It was one of those theaters where you reserve your seats, like Rachel and I did. We got the last 2 seats kind of down on the left or right side, down front rows, because that's what was left.
Yeah, you buy those seats.
So he and his girlfriend show up, and there's a mom with her 6-year-old girl, 5 or 6-year-old girl, in their seats.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, hey, sorry, these are our seats. And the mom goes, I know, but could you swap with us because our seats are like apart from each other and they're way in the back, and I wanted to sit with my daughter, so could I just have your seats that happened to be in the middle of the theater, like the good seats?
Oh, gosh.
And the guy said, no. I paid for the seats. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm going to have the seats. I'm going to need you to. And the mom got huffy with her.
Oh, gosh.
And the people next to them said, we'll swap with you. And so they let the mom and the girl sit right next to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's the debate is, should the guy have just deferred to the mom and the little girl?
No.
Okay.
Especially because, first of all, you bought the seats knowing they were separate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like it isn't. We're not talking about self-serve sort of seats
Right,
here.
right.
And it's like, oh,
That's all that was left.
could you shift over just a little bit? We're not talking about that. We're talking about seats that were far apart.
Yeah.
Go on another day.
Because that was all that was there.
That's all that was left, right? So
Right.
that's on you.
Right.
And
Well,
second, those seats, I know these theaters. Those seats are gigantic.
Yeah.
You could fit a 6-year-old on your lap.
That's right. So the guy said after the movie, the girlfriend was like, you should have just been nice and he's like, am I the jerk here? I'm not going to say what the AITA stands for. He said, am I the jerk here? And most of the people responding said, no, you're right. You're right. But we do have like this pressure to say, well, the kids want it. Just give it to them. It's for the kids.
Yeah, it's like the mom and her kid thing. There's always that thing. Yeah.
Because you've seen it on like airplanes. It's like, I really want to sit with my daughter. Will you please move to the middle side, the seat that was mine back there, and then I can sit with my little kid? How dare you? Well, then plan better if it's that important to you.
Absolutely. It's like, why am I going to sit by myself watching a Barbie movie? At least let me sit next to my girlfriend.
Right.
You jerk.
Yeah.
She's the a-hole.
And terrible judgment for going to Barbie. I don't care if it's with your girlfriend or not.
Then there's that.
Don't do that, dude.
The latest news.
Politicians come up with these different ways to make it more and more difficult to do business.
If they just say that everything's fine, the American people will think that everything's fine.
It's all about Barbenheimer.
The news you need to know.
You're misstating. No. You are. I quoted what you said earlier.
Pornographic images were paraded in this hearing room.
And the place to talk about it.
It's a woke society, and I am fed up with it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic. With today's high inflation, uncertain market conditions, and rising healthcare costs, you have enough on your mind. Don't let the high cost of long-term care be one of them. Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper's new book, A CPA's Guide to Tax-Free Strategies for Long-Term Care, discusses tax efficiency challenges and asset protection. Get your free copy by visiting SerenityLTC.com. That's SerenityLTC.com.
Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Simplicity Wealth, LLC, SEC registered investment advisor. This is a paid endorsement. Insurance, consulting, and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Columbo and Katie.
There's a lot of people, Tony, that we've heard from the beginning of campaign season begging for a Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis ticket.
Well, I think that the vice presidency is as important as the president makes it. That a president can use their vice president for a lot of things, can use them to handle issues, or the president can go it alone.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The Trump legal team facing a deadline today if it plans to challenge a Justice Department request for a protective order in the election interference case against Mr. Trump.
The Justice Department requested a protective order, fearing possible witness intimidation. In South Carolina this weekend, Trump said of the special counsel,
a sham indictment, and the man that's doing it, I really believe he's mentally ill.
Trump's lawyer, John Lauro, on Fox News Sunday, says a protective order would be bad for the public.
Deny all Americans the opportunity to learn non-sensitive information about what the case involves.
He says Trump is being prosecuted for exercising his free speech rights. Jackie Quinn, Washington.
Some busy streets around the Fulton County Courthouse in Atlanta have been cordoned off, a sign that an indictment of former President Trump could come soon. Another election interference case. Mr. Trump denies allegations of trying to overturn the 2020 vote in Georgia. The two helicopters were involved in battling a wildfire in Riverside County, California yesterday when they collided in midair. One of the copters landed safely, the other did not.
Tragically, all three members perished, which included one CAL FIRE division chief, one CAL FIRE fire captain, and one contract pilot.
CAL FIRE's David Fulcher briefing the CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department. The NTSB is investigating the accident. 3 people are dead, several others injured. A late-night charter bus accident along Interstate 81 near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Police say the bus swerved to avoid a stopped vehicle in heavy weather, went up an embankment and then flipped on its side. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures up 113 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 85. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt, I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you call Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
American scientists.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Can't rule out an isolated spot shower through the morning, but otherwise I expect a dry day with a lot of cloud cover overhead. Winds picking up as well. They're going to be coming from the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Temperatures, you'll like these, sitting near 80 degrees. And then tomorrow we're also seeing temperatures in the mid-80s. Watch for Wednesday for our next chance at showers and some strong thunderstorms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
How'd you like to eliminate your expensive cable bill forever, or get new satellite internet where cable can't go? Well, now you can have affordable satellite internet service for a few dollars a day. All you need is a mini satellite installed, and you can have unlimited internet connections wirelessly in your home or office. And no cable boxes means unlimited connections and no clutter. You can surf the internet or stream any of your favorite television services with no cable. And the best part is, satellite internet service costs only a few dollars a day for your entire home. Yes, fast internet to surf or stream television for a few bucks a day. Call now for free details and learn how to drop your expensive cable bill.
800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. That's 800-696-2871.
Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Hey, will you guys knock it off?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
Remember the old days when governments locked down the schools and locked down businesses, told you couldn't go to church in person, you had to watch on YouTube or something like that. And then we got through it. We threw away our masks, and we found out later on that a lot of what we told just simply wasn't true. It wasn't accurate. So what happens if there's another round of a virus, be it COVID or something else? Because we're starting to see some talk about that. I found an interesting article in the Washington Times, and it is worth talking about. I'm Mike Ferguson. I am now joined by Dr. Everett Piper, and you can see his op-ed at the Washington Times, How Will America Handle the Next Pandemic? We may soon find out. And Everett, I don't even like the question. How will we handle the next pandemic? Because it implies that something's coming, I guess, whether we need it or not, right?
Well, I don't like the question either. And I can just say this. It's predictable. And the reason that I think it's predictable is, first of all, it's biology, it's reality. We live in a world that does have viruses, and we are going to be exposed to them. I mean, this is self-evident truth, correct? But the way we responded to the whole thing is incredible, quite frankly. The fact that we allowed the government to quarantine us, to keep us in our houses, to keep us out of churches, to force us to take a vaccine, to force us to wear a piece of paper on our face that we knew wasn't doing any good. The fact that we allowed that to happen with a virus that had a 99% plus survival rate always bothered me. I asked, as probably you did, 1,000 times over in 2019, 2020, if we're going to bow the knee to the government for something that has a 99.5% survival rate, what in the world will we do if there's a disease that has a 90% survival rate, or an 80, or a 70, God forbid? Well, we may soon find out, because we're hearing that in Abu Dhabi, there is a virus called MERS-CoV. MERS-CoV. Now, it's been around since 2012, but the survival rate for MERS-CoV is about 65%. There's a 35% mortality rate. Well, people are talking about it. Can you imagine what our country will go through, our culture will go through? We'll shred the Constitution for the sake of keeping ourselves safe, rather than being a free people, if we have a virus that is more deadly than the COVID virus. That's my concern, and we should start talking about it now and basically be prepared to defend our personal liberties in the face of this government overreach.
There was at least one government official who said, your freedoms don't do you any good when you're dead, and we're trying to save lives. And if they're going to argue, if there's a 1 in 3 chance that let's say this virus is out there, then we just have to take extreme measures, and you're doing it for your fellow man. I suspect, Everett, that we're going to hear arguments along those lines. So what are the tough answers to the questions that say, well, it's deadly, we have to protect ourselves, and if you're not going to do it, government's going to make you, because that's how we protect other people?
I think we have to start asking a basic age-old question. Do we believe in liberty and freedom as a seminal issue, a primary issue? Is it our summum bonum? Is it our highest good in the United States? Is freedom a highest good, or is safety and security a higher value, a higher good than freedom? I mean, give me liberty and give me death? I mean, there was a time when we were taught that that was a seminal quote to the founding of the United States of America. Give me liberty or give me death. Liberty was elevated above death, above the comfortable life. But yet we've reversed that today, and we say, I fear death, so take my liberty. Are we really going to degrade our constitutional republic to the extent where we're going to elevate safety above freedom? If we really are going to do that, then we need to admit it as a people and stop pretending that we're a constitutional republic that elevates freedom above all else. I obviously believe we should fight for freedom. I obviously believe in give me liberty or give me death. C.S. Lewis has a great quote in the Chronicles of Narnia where he says the great lion Aslan, Christ, Jesus, is not safe, but he's good. It's the same thing. He's telling us that the great lion of Christ, the great lion of the church, the great lion of salvation, The great line of biblical truth is not safe, it's good. There's a difference between goodness and safety, and we should prefer the good rather than the safe. That is exactly what we're talking about in the United States right now. Should we prefer the secondary thing of safety over and above the goodness of liberty and freedom?
But somebody would argue, Everett, that it's just temporary. I mean, yes, that was a terrible 2 or 3 years, but it's in the rearview mirror. And if we have a threat again, well, now we know how to get through it. It's not that we're taking your liberties. It's just that we're going to suspend them for a little bit for the greater good. And I know a lot of people who have bought into that. I actually saw an MSNBC contributor this past week say, get your mask out. Your mask is your friend. And we may have to go back to those COVID protocols again. So to some degree, have we been conditioned to expect control, to look at government to say, okay, what do I do or what do I not do anymore?
Oh, yes, we have. That's the point of my article. We have been conditioned. We proved as a society that we would bow to the government everybody, nobody was disputing that it had a survival rate, the disease, COVID-19 had a survival rate of 99% plus. Nobody disputed that. But yet we allowed our freedoms to be taken away. We couldn't go to church. And we couldn't even engage in normal conversation. We couldn't send our kids to school. So will we do it again? Yes. So do I have the solution? The only solution I have right now is start talking about it in advance and recognize that it was an overreaction the last time. Masks don't work. We know the science is clear on that. The vaccines are highly questionable at best. We have the science on that. Distancing was arbitrary. We have the science on that. We know that Anthony Fauci is a little Napoleon who wanted power more than anything else. He called himself science personified. We need to start talking about the realities of what we just went through. And if we don't talk about those realistically and honestly, we will make the same mistakes again. We will.
We are visiting with Dr. Everett Piper in his article at the Washington Times, How Will America Handle the Next Pandemic? We may soon find out, and I've got a couple minutes left here, Everett. What should that conversation look like? You know, you're talking to somebody who says, yeah, but I was scared. I'd rather be safe than sorry. And so I'm not sure. I'll just follow the guidelines. What should that conversation look like now to get people to think more critically and think deeper about that and the long-term consequences?
I think you start asking good questions rather than being, and I would even tone myself down a little bit because I'm talking to you, so my tone is different than I would be if I was trying to engage in casual conversation with somebody. Ask good questions. Have you done the research to know what the efficacy rate is for masking? What sense does it make to wear a mask across the restroom, the restaurant, to wear a mask across the restaurant floor, but yet you can take the mask off when you arrive at your table or your booth? Does that really make any sense? How about the vaccines? Have they worked as we were told they would? What about myocarditis? What about these other mitigating circumstances that cause us to ask good questions? Are you being a critical thinker, or are you just assuming that the government has your best interest and whatever they tell you is true? I think we need to ask good questions that cause our neighbors and even ourselves to engage in good critical analysis of what's going on before us. That's what an educated person does. Ask good questions, rhetorical questions, ground your questions in evidence, and then allow the other person to see that maybe their worldview needs to be challenged a little bit, and it's okay to say, well, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense.
And the article, like I said, is How Will America Handle the Next Pandemic? A lot of good points in there. Dr. Everett Piper, people want to connect with you. Obviously, they can look up Washington Times, but what about directly reaching out? Website, social media, anything like that?
Best way is go to my website. It's dreverettpiper.com, and that's dreverettpiper.com. On that website, there's a menu bar. You can get my articles with the Washington Times. It takes you to my books, my podcast, The Rebellion, as well as if you want to schedule me to speak at your church or political event, you can go to that website, dreverettpiper.com.
All right. Thanks again for the perspective. I always love having you on the show, Dr. Piper.
Blessings. Thank you.
Okay, a lot of ground to cover right there. Once again, dreverettpiper.com and Washington Times article, if you want to dig in to what he had to say with that one, is just, like I said, how will America handle the next pandemic? and he's asking all the right questions. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that? Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your curtain call. Get up.
Longwood, kiss that guy, it's gone a mile. Simmons touches them all.
On Friday, August 18th, the Cardinals host the Mets, and that night, 25,000 fans aged 16 and older take home a Cardinals Hall of Fame Car Parade bobblehead thanks to Ford. Fans will be surprised at the gates when they receive one of two mystery bobbleheads. Will it be Matt Holliday or will it be Ted Simmons? Which one will you get? Find out August 18th. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
The Cardinals are proud to celebrate our troops and veterans. Military Appreciation Night presented by Bally Sports Midwest is Friday, August 18th when the Cardinals host the Mets. With the purchase of a special theme ticket, fans will receive an exclusive Cardinals cap honoring their favorite branch of the military, Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marines, or Navy. A portion of each ticket purchased will be donated to USO Missouri. For more information, visit cardinals.com/theme.
This is Navy veteran and former Cardinal Mitch Harris. Thank you for being the best fans in baseball.
Hey, Colombo here with a great offer from the cleaning pros at Zero Res. The team that we have relied on many times over the years to rescue our home has a great special to celebrate the month of August. Book a cleaning now and mention the Colombo special and you can get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus you can get $75 off an air duct cleaning to help relieve allergies and asthma and lower your energy bills. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
When the world's endangered animals need help most, when their lives are at greatest risk, when they would otherwise be lost, the International Fund for Animal Welfare is there, taking action to rescue the animals we love, to protect them and their threatened natural habitats. But the danger to animals the world over is growing, and the need for your help has never been more urgent. On land, you'll help stop poachers from threatening and killing elephants and big cats for the illegal wildlife trade. In the oceans, you'll help rescue dolphins, whales, and seals from deadly hazards. And you'll help rescue, rehabilitate, and release vulnerable animals when disasters strike. Here at home and around the world, we can't do this work without you. See how you can help animals and people thrive together at joinifall.org.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, it's payday for protesters. I'm using air quotes around protesters still.
And payday.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're getting paid. That's
yeah,
for
they
sure.
are.
It's not an actual paycheck for work. It's just getting money. All right, it is 8:19. That's Estelle Ponticus. I'm Mike Ferguson. Here's what's happening, okay? Over 80 people are getting paid by a settlement with the city of St. Louis. The checks range from $28,000, so that is the smallest check that's going out as part of this settlement, up to over $150,000 each. The money is going to those who are part of again, let's use the word protest, but a protest mob that blocked streets in 2017, and that protest was over the acquittal of a police officer who shot Anthony Lamar Smith in 2011. Now, keep in mind during these, and let's use air quotes again, protests, 4 police officers were hurt. Rocks and bricks were thrown at then Mayor Lyda Cruzen's house, and windows were bashed in on at least one police car. And at issue for a lot of this was the police getting the protesters or the mob off the street by using that kettling technique that is now so infamous, where they kind of lined up and moved people off in kind of a sideways line. And some people got pushed, and there was some pepper spray, and people are saying, "You were mean to us. That was too much force. All we were doing was breaking the law and not dispersing and getting out of the street and stop violating other people's rights. How dare you?" And the city of St. Louis admits no wrongdoing, but they're paying out a total of about $4.9 million. So the message is very clearly sent. Next time you get mad about something, start some stuff. Maybe get into a tussle with a police officer, and you can get paid by the city of St. Louis.
And we wonder why the police force is dwindling.
Right. Yeah.
Who would want to take the job?
Exactly. All right, let's do some national news here for a minute. Former President Trump and his lawyers are pushing to get a venue changed for the most recent federal indictment, and that's currently set to be heard in Washington, D.C. They want that moved to the federal court in West Virginia. The attorney general of that state's name is Patrick Morrissey, and he was on with Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo, and yesterday he said he actually thinks that might be able to happen.
There is precedent, and I actually think this is potentially very likely, and here's why I say this. Yes, it's true that you normally focus on the district where the alleged crimes are occurring. However, there is a lot of precedent where courts have stepped in and they said, let's give the defendant a fair shake.
It's almost like they're saying that Donald Trump is not going to get an unbiased jury or judge in Washington, D.C. Can you believe that?
Oh, my goodness. A change of venue to me is pretty obvious in this case, but I know it's not obvious to those on the left. But to make it somewhat fair, it needs to go to another district besides Washington, D.C. There's just no way you're going to get, in my opinion, a fair trial when you've got 90% of the population Democratic, plus you've got everybody that's involved with the judicial system in D.C. also Democratic. You have a judge who's definitely a never-Trumper, and you have all these situations seem to cry out to me that, yeah, you need to try to do a change of venue.
Yeah, other than maybe, San Francisco or something, you could probably transfer that case just about anywhere and have a better chance of at least a balanced jury pool, assuming they go with a jury trial. And they may go with a judge, but they would be crazy to go with a judge trial in this case. So jury pools is really what matters here. I don't know when we're going to get a final word on whether or not that request has been granted or not. They are due back in court in this particular case. Last I heard was August 28th. So unless they've issued another schedule before then, August 28th is the date. But they're filing that. There could be a ruling on it before then. Okay, so throughout the next several days and weeks, I'm going to move. I'm also going to work in statements and a little bit of coverage of the other presidential candidates, because their entire campaigns have been just swallowed up by all of the Trump legal drama and the indictments and the charges. So I want to make sure that everybody remembers there are other candidates to choose from, and you should hear from them, whether you vote for them or not. For instance, former ambassador, former Governor Nikki Haley was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, campaigning, and she has this warning about China.
They have bought 400,000 acres of U.S. soil, most recently near Grand Forks Air Force Base, where our most sensitive drone technology is. They are giving millions of dollars to our universities so that they can steal research and spread Chinese propaganda. They have sent enough fentanyl last year that would kill every single American.
She ain't wrong still.
No, I'm surprised she didn't mention incandescent light bulbs.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I'm guessing they're going to be coming from China too, even though they'll be black market light bulbs.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no doubt we're going to start seeing, hey, look at these incandescent bulbs here that they're selling under the counter, and they're made in China. How about that?
Now, her reference to the 400,000 acres of land that the Chinese government has bought, either directly or through, subsidiary shell-type organizations, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. Now, Missouri is one of the states that moved forward with legislation banning China from, buying land, and Florida has done something similar, and there's other states that have done something similar. But the concerning pattern is that they're buying up the land near military installations. That's a pattern. And that's documented. That's not a conspiracy theory, because we know that I'm not real friendly to a lot of the conspiracy theorists out there. But that's just real estate records that show that's the case. That's the strategy that's been used.
Well, you know what? You use the two words conspiracy theory. I'm going to be honest here. It was a conspiracy theory a couple of years ago when those of us talked about the initial purchase next to 2 Air Force bases, and people said, "Oh, come on, they're just buying up land and they're going to farm it, etc." No, this is a little too obvious here that they're purchasing land that's very close to major bases in our country. And so finally now we're seeing that, yeah, there's a pattern here. We need to stop it.
Yeah, and Nikki Haley is not saying anything about this that's different than most of the other candidates as well. They're pretty much all addressing that as well. But it's good that she's bringing that up. We've got to remember, China is not our business partner. We do business with China, but they are not our friend. They are a competitor, and frankly, they are an enemy. And the fact that this has kind of gone under the radar for as long as it has just shows that there's a need to address it. So she's bringing it back up, and good for her.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And golly, we do a ton of business with China.
Absolutely.
You know,
massive amount. Yeah.
I remember back in the day when I was a kid, a lot of stuff was made in Japan. Now you rarely see made in Japan, and now everything seems to be made in China.
Yeah, China, Taiwan, Indonesia, India, places like that. Yeah, exactly. Occasionally Mexico, but more than times than not, it's over still in Asia.
Vietnam, etc.
Occasionally, yeah, I've seen a few of those. Yeah. Okay, a little bit closer to home here. Gas prices jumped again. You've noticed that, right? Oh, geez. Okay, so according to industry analyst Trilby Lundberg of the Lundberg Survey, and she's kind of the premier analyst who tracks gas prices around the country, she says the increase was sparked by several things, including there was a high demand, probably that last-minute vacation travel before school starts up here before too long, and also the recent decision by Saudi Arabia to continue its cut in oil production. So part of the reason the gas prices are going up is because Saudi Arabia has cut the production, and they're limiting the amount of oil that is able to get into the market and be refined into gasoline. And they've had that cut for a little bit, but they've announced that they're going to continue that cut to go on for at least another month. Here's Trilby Lundberg.
The average pump price jumped a great deal in the past 2 weeks. The prices of 23 cents per gallon to $3.90 for regular grade, coming mostly from higher crude oil prices.
You know what could have mitigated these increases as a result of the Saudi production cut?
Maybe a pipeline somewhere?
Yeah, and more drilling here.
Yeah.
And the pipeline, yes.
Oh, my goodness. And I'm surprised she didn't mention, well, although she may have somewhere else during her comments, our reserves are dwindling.
Depleted. Yeah, we have depleted them in a massive, massive way. So in the last 2 weeks, the lowest price for gasoline in the country, in case you were wondering, got it on your bingo card maybe, Jackson, Mississippi at $3.31 a gallon. The highest price for gallons, Seattle, Washington, $5.09 per gallon.
That's tough.
Whew, man. I'm trying to remember what I paid last time I went and got gas, which was last week.
$3.69 for me.
Yeah.
And that was after it jumped from $3.39. All of a sudden, it went up 30 cents overnight.
Yeah. I think it was around $3.70 something like that. I don't know, maybe it was $3.60. But I got it at the big Amoco, the big sign Amoco station.
Yeah, Skinker and 64.
Up there, Skinker 64. Yep. That's where I got my last set of gas. And I remember going, this stings a little bit. It wasn't that much before. Oh, geez. So we're probably going to see that creep up a little bit more and more and more as well. Okay, sports. Cardinals dropped their series against the Rockies 2-1. We're used to that story. We see that all the time. But here's an interesting footnote. Sunday's loss, by the way, 1-0 at Busch Stadium. But the interesting note is on Saturday, the Cardinals beat the Rockies for their one win in that series, and that win was the 10,000th win as the Cardinals. So since they were renamed and rebranded the St. Louis Cardinals in 1900, that was win number 10,000 under that team name and structure.
Probably not many teams in MLB can say that they've got 10,000 wins.
No, I would think probably the Yankees, probably the Red Sox, but I don't know if any other teams could say that. Eventually the Cubs will get there. They've been around over 100 years. And Pirates have been around over 100 years, but Pirates have had just decades of bad baseball. So, yeah, I think I'm going to guess probably just 3.
A handful.
Yeah. 3. That's quite a milestone, though. Quite a milestone. All right, the Redbirds, by the way, have a travel day today. They start a series against the Rays in Tampa Bay tomorrow. All right, just ahead here.
Hold on just a second here. Talking about going to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
This is a 5-game road trip.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's an off day on Sunday.
Really?
Yes, they play Kansas City on Friday and Saturday, and then they're off on Sunday. That is so bizarre.
That's weird.
But that's unfortunately the type of goofy scheduling we've been getting the last couple of years.
That's really strange.
As we've gotten the unbalanced schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're off. And by the way, don't look now, but the Cubs are in second.
Cubs are in second place, and the Kansas City Royals are hot right now.
No kidding.
What they? I didn't see what they did yesterday, but they'd won like 7 in a row.
Whoa!
I mean, the Royals.
How about that?
And they're not good, but they've rattled off a bunch of wins.
Well, good for them.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Just ahead here, should you have to earn your right to vote in this country? I mean, if you're a citizen, should you have to earn your right to vote? One presidential candidate is suggesting that. I'll tell you what he's suggesting. Tell me what you think. Let's talk about it right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Can't rule out an isolated spot shower through the morning, but otherwise I expect a dry day with a lot of cloud cover overhead. Winds picking up as well. They're going to be coming from the north at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Temperatures, you'll like these, sitting near 80 degrees. And then tomorrow we're also seeing temperatures in the mid 80s. Watch for Wednesday for our next chance at showers and some strong thunderstorms. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
I don't have to tell you it's hot time summer in St. Louis, so why the heck you still dragging those hoses around your yard? Tim Jones here for Professional Irrigation Systems. They will do a residential irrigation install in one day. Custom irrigation designs for every property. We made that decision years ago. We've never regretted it. Irrigation installs improve your curb appeal. They also have got landscape lighting and fertilization packages as well. Make your yard the envy of the neighborhood. 636-692-4441, 24/7 at proirrigation.com. That's proirrigation.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Let's cut a deal at Seidenstricker Nobe Partners. Save up to $5,000 on a select John Deere compact tractor package with our exclusive 10-year warranty. And to make things better, we're offering 0% financing for 60 months with 0 down. Get your John Deere equipment by shopping online or visiting us at any of our 28 locations. Let's cut a deal now at Seidenstricker Nobe, snpartners.com.
Offer valid through 9/30/2023. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Everybody has a right to have their opinion and voice their opinion.
Live and local.
I always approach it from this standpoint. Leftist malfeasance is presupposed.
This is News Talk STL.
Hello, morning people. Tony Colombo and Katie Fitzpatrick here.
Thanks for listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL. And don't forget to join us today at 2 for Colombo and Katie.
See you then.
Vivek Ramaswamy says young Americans should earn the right to vote, not just have it because you are of age and an American citizen. I'll tell you what he's suggesting. Love to know what you think about that. 314-912-1019. Or I am now looking at the Rumble chat box as well. So I'll watch for your comments there. Stel, you watching the Facebook comments?
Yeah.
All right. Stel's got he's got his eye on those. By the way, our new News Talk STL weeknight lineup starts today. This is going to be great. Larry Connors is expanding his show from 6 to 8 o'clock, so you get an additional hour of Larry Connors. Then Joe Pags. He's just starting at 8 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock. And as of today, the newest addition to the News Talk STL listening family, and that is Ben Shapiro, coming on at 10 p.m., I believe, right after Joe Pags. Good stuff.
I think Shapiro starts at 11.
Or 11.
So
I'm sorry,
Pags,
11.
8
Pags,
to 11.
Yeah, Pags 8 to 11, and then Ben Shapiro, yes. So great stuff right there. Make sure.
By the way, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
I was going to say, no, I'm excited to add Shapiro.
Because this is Journey, I just wanted to mention last night, Kathy and I, it was Saturday night, we saw Generation Radio at the Washington Town and Country Fair. New band, they got together during the pandemic because their former bands had split up or had other situations happen. So a former guy from Chicago who took Peter Cetera's place, a couple of guys from Rascal Flatts, because Rascal Flatts broke up.
Yeah, they broke up,
during the pandemic. And when Tom Petty's band essentially had to retire, the original drummer for Generation Radio was Dean Castronovo.
Yeah,
from Journey.
yeah. Well, not only from Journey, but also from Revolution Saints.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he went back to Journey since they're touring and doing their own thing. And Steve Ferroni from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers joined the tour. Boy, is he good, too.
Oh, I bet.
So it was a great combination. They did a bunch of Chicago tunes, a bunch of Tom Petty tunes, some Rascal Flatts, and a few other things that they tossed in.
Did Dean Castronova do any singing?
He wasn't with them.
He wasn't.
He's gone.
Oh, he's the original.
Yeah,
one.
so
Okay,
Steve Ferroni from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers took over on drums.
Okay. Oh.
And first thing Kathy said into the first song was, golly, that drummer's good. So we realized, oh, yeah, that's the guy from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
That's really cool.
So you might want to check out the band. Those of you listening, if you're looking for a new rock-oriented pop rock band, Generation Radio is the name of the band.
Okay, fun. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, Vivek Ramaswamy has been I think overall, a really positive addition to the presidential race. He's not going to win the nomination. Let's be honest, he's not going to win. But he's been a really positive addition. He is making the other candidates respond to some pretty bold statements. For instance, he was one of the first ones right out of the bat to say, we need to get rid of the Department of Education. There's no reason to have it whatsoever. And he's 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
He's also the one who's pushing the discussion on the administrative state, which think tanks have been doing that for years, and he's putting it, I think, in front of a lot more people. But that doesn't mean all of his ideas are good ideas. So here's one of the things that he tweeted out recently. He said that he wants to revive civic duty among young Americans. So let me just read part of his tweet here. He says, and I'm quoting, "That's why I'm announcing my support for a constitutional amendment to raise the voting age from 18 to 25, but to still allow 18-year-olds to vote if they either pass the same civics test required of immigrants to become naturalized citizens, or else to perform 6 months of military or first responder service. We must be ambitious. I understand not everybody will like this proposal and that it will take persuasion to convince many of its merits, but I'm ready to take that on." So you're an adult, You're a citizen, but you're not allowed to vote unless you pass a test or perform some government service.
It's going to take a lot of persuasion, I think, to get folks to come on board for this idea. It's a great idea, but coming from him, he's such a smart guy. I'm sure he's thought this whole thing out and figured, yeah, this would be a good thing to do. And I'm guessing that the normal populace is going to go, I don't know, this is kind of complicated. Besides raising the voting age, you want to add other criteria to it, passing a test on top of it.
I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think it's a great idea. I actually think it's a really bad idea.
No, I'm sorry. If I came across coming, no, I didn't think it was a good idea.
Oh,
I think
okay.
He thinks it's a good idea.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, he thinks it's a very good idea. I disagree with him then.
Yeah.
On this. I think this is actually a terrible idea.
I think it's awfully complicated.
Well, it's complicated, but to me, the very basic thing that says, if we in this country say you are an adult at the age of 18, you know, and you can debate that. There's some people say it should be 16. Other people say it should be 21. You know, other people say it should be 25, like Gabe. You know, but we have decided you're an adult at the age of 18. That's just where we've decided. Other countries have decided it in other areas. We've said 18, although you can't buy cigarettes or alcohol till you're 21, even though you can fight and die for your country at 18. But, you know, we've said 18 for the most part. If you're an adult and you're a citizen, then no one group of citizens should be arbitrarily required to earn a right that everybody else has. And I've warned in the past that we need to be aware of a big government movement within the conservative movement. So a sub-movement within the conservative movement. Conservative used to mean we are for smaller government. We are conserving our individual rights and conserving our constitutional way of life and our constitutional structure. There is a big government movement within the conservative movement. There is a big government movement gaining ground within the Republican Party. That's why I am not committing to backing whoever the Republican nominee is unless I know they are a small government constitutionalist. That's what I want to see. This, while he is saying he wants to see a constitutional amendment, so that part is constitutional to say, I want to change the Constitution. Okay, we're allowed to change the Constitution. But I think the idea that says, okay, you're a citizen, you're an adult, but you have to prove that you're allowed to vote, whereas somebody else just enjoys that right because they are a U.S. citizen and an adult. And I think this is a really bad idea. And I especially don't like the idea of saying you must perform government service to earn the right that other people have. That's the problem I have with this still.
I agree with you. And to make it a small demographic, 18 to 24-year-olds, they may think it's unfair. And I'm guessing a lot of other folks are going to think it's unfair because we've got millions of folks just troopsing across the southern border.
Yep.
And I understand that they're not going to come in and vote in the presidential election, but a lot of them will go to cities where now, because of voting law changes, they can vote in local elections, which is bizarre.
Yeah, that's true. They're allowed to vote like for city council and school board and stuff like that in some isolated areas around the country, but they have changed the rules on that. And so this is these are the things that we need to be careful of. Now, I absolutely recognize that 18 to 24 group, they broke hard for Democrats in 2022. It's looking like they're going to break hard for Democrats again in 2024. This ain't the way to win them over. We have a Republican candidate saying you're going to have to serve in the military or serve in civic service to the government or pass a test before we allow you to vote, even though you can buy your own home and you may be in middle management at this point. You probably you are by 24 you could have an advanced degree, but you better serve in some sort of government service before we allow you to vote. That ain't the way to win voters over, and I just think it's wrong.
No, and I agree with you. And I don't mean to sound smart alecky here, but and I love Vivek so much.
Right.
It's almost like he's too smart for the room. And like, dial it back a little, buddy, because yes, it's a nice idea, but I don't think it's going to fly at all. I think folks are really going to say, no, this just won't work.
It's a bad idea. Talk about the economy, talk about, the things that he has about taking on the administrative state. The way he has framed that conversation has resonated. He's made it easy enough to digest for more people that they realize that there is a lot of abuse that's happening. There's some things that he's commented on lately. I'm like, well, I don't agree with him on a few things. But I think overall he's been a good addition to the presidential race. He was asked actually what he would look for in a vice president, and he gave a very solid answer, which I kind of thought was, I mean, it's good that he's putting that out there, but he's not going to be the nominee. We all know that as well. But he's offering a lot right now, and so he's got a lot of momentum. I think on the debate stage, I think a candidate like him could really shine and push some really important issues, and I think he could also help shape the direction that not only the party's going, but what will conservatism be if he decides to remain a voice in it.
Should the Republicans win in 24, I would love to see him in some sort of administrative position somewhere, because he's so smart. He's got great ideas on stuff that needs to be done, and boy, he would look really good in my estimation heading up some department in the administration.
Maybe like commerce or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to have an understanding of that sort of, or the small business administration, or something along those lines. Yeah, I could see him if he would want to do something like that. Of course, that would probably be a massive pay cut for
it would be
for what considering his success that he has had along the way. But
I think he's really focused on doing something good for the country, which is great.
It looks like it, yeah. And like I said, he's there have been a number of things in the last couple of weeks that I'm like, yeah, I don't see it that way. I disagree with him, but I love that he's bringing it to the table. I don't have to agree with everything to be glad that he's bringing something to the table, and I think he's done that. This particular idea, I think the unintended consequences is alienating the very voters that Republicans really need to bring in addition to it just being a bad idea. But that's what we get to talk about here. Got some thoughts on it? Let me know. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary. But that's not the case when you go to Michael's Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michael's, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Representative Justin Sparks. How difficult is it as a police officer that you don't get jaded and be like, they're all like that?
Because God said that they were created in his image. And frankly, when somebody gets shot or killed and their loved ones are falling out on the front lawn and they're freaking out, they do not care that I'm white when I show up to the scene. They just want me to get justice.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
In the dead of night, a child clings to life, trapped in a crumpled car wreck. Every second, a heartbeat away. Through the chaos, a team of first responders emerges. They pry open the twisted metal, their voices reassuring as they pull the child from the wreckage. In that moment, a life is saved.
Join with the David Dorn Foundation to provide first responders with equipment needed to save lives throughout the state of Missouri. Visit dornfoundation.com now to learn more.
What if the music stopped? If the familiar voices were silenced? If there were no breaking news updates? What if your companion and connection to your community came with a monthly fee? Don't worry, we're free local radio with you wherever you go, celebrating 100 years and looking forward to the next 100. We are broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and let Congress know you depend on your local TV and radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Columbo and Katie.
Monday kicks off the first full week in August, and it looks like we're right around the corner from another indictment for Donald Trump. We'll get you the latest details, plus we'll talk to Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire at 2:45.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Now we're talking.
Welcome to the radio jungle.
That's right. Guns N' Roses coming back to St. Louis in September. Coming to Busch Stadium.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think it's the 9th. I could be wrong about that. Right around the early September. One of my friends texted me. He's like, "Hey, you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'll go." I got. I don't know if I want to spend $100 for a floor seat. I'm okay sitting the seats up a little bit at my age. But I've seen him a couple times. Great show. A lot of fun. I saw him at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. I saw him at the Dome here shortly after that. A lot of fun.
I would have no problem sitting in the upper bowl. Not the upper bowl, but one of the middle bowls.
Yeah, the middle one would be fine.
Because the view is great from
somewhere
those seats.
near a concession stand.
Yes.
It's funny. When I saw him at the Dome, and gosh, how long ago was this? 5-6 years ago, something like that. Let's just say there was a big, puffy, billowy cloud coming up in the Dome. It was, and I mean, you walked out of there smelling like pot. I was up in sort of up at the top of the Dome. When it was the radio station tickets, it was, and so we're watched down, and even Axl Rose was commenting on that. There was so much pot smoking happening. This is before the edibles became a thing, so it's been, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, something like that. And he said, "Boy, we're all good law-abiding citizens, so I'm sure you've all got your medical card, right?"
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so even he was commenting. I mean, it was just beyond ridiculous.
Got that nice sweet aroma through here.
Yes, it was. It was, and the funny part was, my wife and I, who did not have, well, we don't do any marijuana, and she doesn't drink at all, and I didn't have any alcohol. So we had not had a drop of anything that could be intoxicating at all. But we're walking out of the Dome covered in marijuana smoke smell. And that stuff just sticks to you.
It does.
And I remember commenting to her, we're walking back to the car, and I said, we're probably like two of the very few people in this concert who did not toke, who did not drink, who did not take anything intoxicating, but watch, we'll be the ones pulled over.
Yes.
Trying to explain to the officer, no, I really wasn't smoking marijuana, even though we reek of it all over. We didn't get pulled over, by the way.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I had numerous situations like that when I was in college because the dorm floor I was on was filled with guys who smoked dope. Smart guys, but every weekend it was dope everywhere in almost everyone's room except mine.
They took their nature walk.
And if we took a drive anywhere, especially if we went out to West County, my thought always was, because I was one of the few guys on campus at that time on that floor who had a car, so I was the one who would be driving them around. I'm thinking, gee, I hope we don't get pulled over.
Yeah.
Because everyone in here, including me, smells like weed.
Listen, I don't mind having a drink or two when I go to a concert. Okay, I'm not, especially if I go to, Diamond Music Hall in St. Peter's or Del Mar Hall or
the Pageant,
any of those, Hawthorne, wherever. I haven't been out to the Factory in Chesterfield yet, although I'm going later this year.
Oh, good.
John Cleese.
Oh, yeah.
Is going to be there. So Rachel and I got our tickets.
Awesome.
We're going to go. I think it's on a Thursday night, so I'm just going to be really tired on that Friday when I come in. So I don't mind grabbing a drink at one of those, but I don't understand people who get hammered at shows. At the Guns N' Roses show, for instance, there was this one guy who fell into me a couple of times as we were leaving. I mean, he was just I don't know whether he was high or drunk or both or whatever it was. He couldn't stand up and crashed into me twice. And I told his girlfriend or whoever it was, I said, happens one more time, I'm going to knock him out. And he's not going to know the difference, but I'm going to knock him out. And they're like picking him up, like, we're so sorry. And you see that when I was younger, you would see that at these bars and clubs when you go see a band, and somebody would just get completely loopy. And I'm thinking, you paid good money to see the show, and now you're not going to remember the show. What is wrong with you?
I remember when we saw the Stones, this was, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago maybe at the Dome. Thanks to a neighbor of ours who had great seats, we were in the 6th row.
Have you paid off those tickets yet?
A couple months ago, we finally did. It was great to be sitting that close, but on our way out, like you mentioned, we had folks kind of, to say they were woozy would be putting it mildly, but then again, I'm guessing they probably started with a few brews early in the day and then just kind of went from there because the concert went on pretty late. But
I hear they play a long time.
Yes, it was a long concert. Great gig.
Oh, I bet.
Fun to see them.
Yeah, matter of fact, at the Dome, and for those of you who were at the show, they played for almost 3 hours. I think it was their Let's Make Up after the whole Riverport debacle. That was the first time they'd been back, and so Guns N' Roses played forever. But yeah, I've heard the Stones, you get every bit of your money's worth.
Yes.
From the Stones. Actually, a friend of mine was their driver when they were
here.
Oh,
no kidding.
What, 4 years ago? 3-4 years ago?
Okay.
Yeah, he was actually their actual assigned driver. He owns one of those transportation companies with limos and shuttles and all that kind of stuff, and so he actually got to hang out with them for a couple of days while they were in town.
Like Jed's Limousine or something.
Yeah,
like that.
it's not that one, but yeah, it's one of those. Yeah,
Mm.
so he owns. Well, I don't think it's that one, but yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, when you go to the shows, I'm thinking, especially as we get little older, we're now seeing the bands from the '80s and the '90s kind of do the nostalgia tours, to go to these. I'm like, I don't understand the people like, yeah, let's get blank-faced.
Yeah, let's get blitzed.
Yeah.
I don't get it either.
Not
but
my
then
thing.
again, that was never my thing at all anyway. So
I've never done that at a concert. Never. Majority of the concerts, I haven't even had anything. I mean, nothing. Because I'm like, I'm there. I want to see the show, man. It's just more fun for me that way. I mean, I don't know. But you do you, I'll do me. Just don't crash into me afterwards. Jeez. Interesting. Got a response on Twitter to the Vivek Ramaswamy comment. It says, "I am a fan of earning the right to vote. We have handed it out for 247 years and are on the cusp of social breakdown. If it's earned, you take it more serious." I agree that if it's earned, you take it more serious. I just don't, and I get what you're saying. I appreciate your comment there. The problem I have is to say this group cannot have this right unless you earn it, but everybody else gets it. We should have people taking it more seriously. So I agree that is a massive, massive problem that we're having. I just don't think having a two-tiered level of rights for citizens in this country is the way to go.
And we had another comment from Scotty who said he understands where Vivek is coming from, but I do think seniors in high school should pass a test.
That should be part of the curriculum requirements, actually.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I know some states are pushing for that, but that I agree with. We should address the problem there. All right, Vic Borselli coming your way just ahead.
The flow of information.
This week on News Talk STL.
Take a look at what's going on.
To get to the bottom.
News, analysis, opinion.
I'm not censoring the witness. He's still talking.
It's my time, and I've given it to the witness. Do not censor him.
Tennessee Democratic Representative Justin Jones tweeted, "What a shameful vision of gun extremism." Valdine says it's an anthem against the violence and crime that has rocked the country.
101.9 and 94.1.
President Biden and President Trump have a codependency.
News Talk STL.
Hey guys, Ken Kruger. I've gotten to know these guys really well over the last few years. Yes, St. Louis Bath and Renovation. They're the most trusted name in bathroom remodelers in the St. Louis area. In fact, if you need bathroom repairs, complete bathroom remodeling, or handyman services, call St. Louis Bath and Renovation at 314-477-6476 or email Rob at stlbr.com. That's St. Louis Bath and Renovation.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed